News alert: President Trump isn't letting up when it comes to pressure on the Islamic Republic, issuing a fresh warning to Tehran about compliance, but Iranian leadership doesn't sound all the way on board with the agreement.
Trey Yinks joins us live from Tel Aviv with the latest. Hey, Trey.
Yeah, hey guys, good morning. After Vice President J.D. Vance announced that Iran has agreed to allow international atomic energy inspectors into their country, President Trump posted on Truth Social this morning saying, in part, if they did not agree to this, there would be no further negotiations. Well, the Iranians today are going on the record saying they did not agree to this point. Take a listen.
We neither had a meeting with the Director General of the International Atomic Energy Agency, nor do we have any plan for the agency to inspect Iran's nuclear facilities damaged as a result of the U.S. military aggression and the Zionist regime. Fundamentally, there is no procedure in this regard.
Now, President Trump spoke from the Oval Office on Monday, saying that if Iran doesn't live up to their end of the agreement, he'll do what he has to do. The focus over the next 60 days will be resolving issues surrounding Iran's nuclear program and keeping the Strait of Hormuz open. With the initial agreement in place, millions of barrels of crude oil are leaving the Persian Gulf each day.
We took in more oil yesterday than has ever gone through the Strait. You probably see that we have an oil gusher. The Strait is totally open. You know that. And we're negotiating. We'll see how that all goes. But we have two things. We have an open Strait, and we have a country that will never have a nuclear weapon. Will never, ever have a nuclear weapon.
On Monday, the U.S. Treasury authorized Iranian oil sales, temporarily waiving long-placed sanctions against the Iranian regime. The sanctions relief will be controlled by the United States, and unfrozen money Iran receives in the future would be used to purchase food and medical supplies for the Iranian people, according to President Trump. Now, there is this other broad issue of Lebanon and the exchange of fire between Israel and Hezbollah. The Israelis today targeted a cell of Hezbollah gunmen in the southern part of Lebanon. They say they had intelligence that these militants were planning an attack against their forces. Guys?
Wow. So, Trey, that is pretty big. If they deny right away that there's inspections, and one of the first things J.D. Vance said is they've agreed to bring back the IAEA, and we made a call at 2 o'clock in the morning and nobody picked up. How could they be in the same meeting and divert and have a divergent view on something as fundamental as that?
Yeah, it's a great question because it raises other questions, not just about their nuclear program and their willingness to make these serious commitments, but also about the Strait of Hormuz. The language that is being exchanged here is quite important because the Iranians will, at the negotiating table, agree to one thing and then come out publicly and say something else. And so we've got to be measured and patient here to see what actually gets agreed to and if they're going to allow these inspectors into their country. But there is this other issue of the Strait of Hormuz. And today, Iranian state media is reporting that Iran has imposed a daily limit on the number of vessels allowed to transit the Strait of Hormuz. They're trying to control this like a faucet that they can turn on and off. Now, again, if this is confirmed, it is yet another example of the Iranians saying something at the negotiating table and then announcing something else publicly.
So, Trey, that's where the rubber is going to meet the road. The president has acknowledged that he allows Iran to say their nonsense because they got to keep their population. But some of these things, they have to act upon, and these metrics have to happen within the 60 days. This is when you're going to get a response from the president when they don't actually comply with certain measures.
Absolutely, and that's what President Trump talked about over the weekend during an interview with Fox News. He talked about the Strait of Hormuz, and if the Iranians want to try and toll the strait, he said the United States will toll the strait and ultimately take up to 20% of the oil that passes through. He described this as the U.S. being the guardian angel of the Strait of Hormuz and the broader Middle East. And so the president was very clear that if the Iranians go back on some of these agreements that they've made, he leaves open the possibility of taking over the Strait of Hormuz in the future. And so these critical 60 days are going to be very important to watch. And again, we have to wait for verifiable action because oftentimes there's propaganda coming out of Tehran. But then when you look at the international shipping data, there's millions of barrels of crude oil exiting the Persian Gulf each day. And so, again, patience is needed here. And a lot of these statements that are coming from the Iranians, they're speaking not to the international community, but to their domestic audience,
That's right.
understanding that they do have to make concessions as it relates to the Strait and their nuclear program.
Trey, two things. What do you make of the interaction with those leaders and J.D. Vance? They're hugging, shaking hands. Witkoff is hugging some leaders. We didn't see that. And also, what about frozen assets, frozen money that it's being reported in some publications that some of that money will be unfrozen for Iran?
Yeah, President Trump today posted on Truth Social and said that sanctions relief in the future will actually go into an escrow account that we understand, according to U.S. officials, will have oversight not just from the United States, but also from the Qataris to make sure that at least some of this money, according to the president and the vice president, goes to buying U.S. farm goods and medical supplies for the Iranian people. Again, we've not yet heard from the Iranians about this point, and it's very important here to compare statements and actions about what will actually take place. What we saw in those images from the vice president, I think, highlights, at least on the negotiation side, the mediators have a very strong relationship with the Trump administration. Whether it is Pakistan or Qatar, they have worked both in front of the cameras and behind the scenes to try and move this deal forward. But the president over the weekend described this as a 60-day option for him. And he maintains both military action and diplomacy after that window if the Iranians comply or if they go back on some of these promises that they've made.
Right. The closer it gets to the midterms.
After Vice President J.D. Vance announced that Iran has agreed to allow international atomic energy inspectors into their country, President Trump posted on Truth Social this morning saying, in part, if they did not agree to this, there would be no further negotiations. Well, the Iranians today are going on the record saying they did not agree to this point. Take a listen.
We neither had a meeting with the Director General of the International Atomic Energy Agency, nor do we have any plan for the agency to inspect Iran's nuclear facilities damaged as a result of the U.S. military aggression and the Zionist regime. Fundamentally, there is no procedure in this regard.
Now, President Trump spoke from the Oval Office on Monday, saying that if Iran doesn't live up to their end of the agreement, he'll do what he has to do. The focus over the next 60 days will be resolving issues surrounding Iran's nuclear program and keeping the Strait of Hormuz open. With the initial agreement in place, millions of barrels of crude oil are leaving the Persian Gulf each day.
We took in more oil yesterday than has ever gone through the Strait. You probably see that we have an oil gusher. The Strait is totally open. You know that. And we're negotiating. We'll see how that all goes. But we have two things. We have an open Strait, and we have a country that will never have a nuclear weapon. Will never, ever have a nuclear weapon.
On Monday, the U.S. Treasury authorized Iranian oil sales, temporarily waiving long-placed sanctions against the Iranian regime. The sanctions relief will be controlled by the United States, and unfrozen money Iran receives in the future would be used to purchase food and medical supplies for the Iranian people, according to President Trump. Now, there is this other broad issue of Lebanon and the exchange of fire between Israel and Hezbollah. The Israelis today targeted a cell of Hezbollah gunmen in the southern part of Lebanon. They say they had intelligence that these militants were planning an attack against their forces.
Welcome, everybody. We got, oh, man, I look dark in there. I look really dark. I have to fix that real quick. But in any event, welcome to you. Hope you guys are doing well. We got an issue going on here. We may have some thunderstorms coming in, so want to be careful about that. Let me just fix this lighting. Hold on. I'll leave it right there. Yeah, so we got thunderstorms rolling through, so hopefully everything goes okay and I won't just go blip and just be gone. I want to talk about a lot of news today before we get to rally. It's rally day. And that news is seemingly no longer news. You know, if you go on X right now, if you go on Facebook, you go on some of the other bigger websites, it seems like the whole Iran thing is gone. Nobody's talking about it. They got what they wanted. They thought they had Trump, and now they find out Trump is controlling things, and that part of what they wanted to sink their teeth into, they can't hold on anymore. I want to take you back, I guess, a few months and show you a few things. I want you to remember when the war actually started. The war started. Let me see if I can pull this up so I can show you. The war started on February 28th. Here, let me show you. Let me just make sure you understand what I'm talking about. The war, or whatever you want to call it, Operation Epic Fury, started on February 28th. It was a Saturday. That's very important. I'm going to show you why right now. Oil prices don't get charted on Saturdays and Sundays. So let me show you this real quick. This is the oil chart in terms of the pricing. And here is on February 27th. And you can see on the screen, on February 27th, oil was $67 a barrel. Now, let's jump to Monday. We jump to Monday, and that would be March 2nd, I believe. March 2nd, it jumped to $71.23. So a price per barrel when the war was just starting was $71.23. And as you see on your screen, right now, it's at $73. It is almost, it's a pubic hair away from where it was when this entire thing started. That's why they're not talking about it. They know within a couple weeks, there's nothing for them to cry, whine, and bitch about, especially when you get this kind of stuff from President Trump, and he talks about it and says 19 million barrels of oil flowed out of the Hormuz Strait yesterday. One day, 19 million barrels. An all-time record. Oil prices are tumbling, and the world is a much safer place. President Donald J. Trump. Look how fast they abandon stories. Yeah, we don't want to talk about that anymore because it's actually working. It's actually happening. What he's been doing and what he's been foretelling, hey, as soon as this is over, you're going to see cheap gas prices. But for 2 months, they were able to just run around, scream like crazy people. Oh my God, poor peoples can't eat, they can't drive, they can't gas. And now they can't say it. So when he was telling you, and he told everybody, they took it the wrong way. I'm not worried about the midterms. Doesn't mean I'm not worried about the midterms. I'm not worried about it right now. Watch what happens. Again, all the pollsters, you guys know the history of me talking to some pollsters, and I always say it to them. How can you poll things when you don't know what's going to happen next week, tomorrow? Never mind 11 in November. How can you possibly be taking a snapshot? And the only thing polls have shown me over the years is how fickle and how ignorant and how unknowing of what could potentially happen, where that puck is going to be. Because all they're talking about is today. Hey, how do you feel right now? Well, it sucks. I'm paying too much for gas and, blah, 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 blah. So how are you going to feel in 30 days if gas prices are going down? How are you going to feel in 60 days when they're even less? Going to be feeling pretty good. They don't ask that question. They exist on misery, and they exist on current knowledge, meaning the only thing people can regurgitate is that what they've been told. They don't know. They don't know today what went on with Tulsi Gabbard. They don't understand that everything that was brought out in public about the Fauci stuff and what he was doing, nobody covered it. So you can't ask people, hey, does Fauci and the Jabademic matter to you right now? No. That's because they don't know. We are living amongst sheep. And these people on the television, for the most part, are trying to keep you like a mushroom, in the dark and covered in bullcrap. And so as you look around on the various sites, there's not many people who are helping you understand where things are going, not where they are right now. Oh, it sucked that some people were paying $5 for gas. We never paid that here, never got there. It may have sucked that at one time a dozen eggs was real expensive. Now you can't talk about that anymore. Can't bitch about the eggs? Nope. Back then they did. And now you can't bitch about the pool anymore. So what's the next thing you're going to run to, Democrats? Well, I'm telling you another thing that they're going to pull on that people won't know anything about. We're going to get to that, is the immense amount of fraud. Have you seen any Democrat, any, talk about the overwhelming amount of fraud that's being discovered? President Trump is speaking. Oops, excuse me. What is that? What happened there? Hold on. Oh, I got darkness everywhere. What's going on? Why is my thing not working? I told you it was storming. Hold on. President Trump is talking. Let me see if I could bring him on. I guess I can't. So he just got off of the airport. Hold on. Let me see if I can figure out why this is not bringing that in. 1 second. 1 second. Let me play some music for you because he's talking right now. Be right back. 1 second.
Who are you with?
I'm with the station, sir.
Not a very good group. Not doing very well. Not only do they support it, they demand it because they won't allow Iran to have a nuclear weapon. You want to see trouble? Let them have a nuclear weapon. We're doing very well with Iran. They've been decimated, and we're making a deal with them, and we'll see how that all goes. And right now, as you probably heard yesterday, we had 19 barrels of oil, 19 million barrels of oil come off, and that's the biggest in the history of the Strait, the Hormuz Strait. Our stock market is through the roof, and oil prices are tumbling. We actually hit for a moment today. In fact, I think it's going to break it, $70 a barrel. That's lower than we were when we started, and it's been amazing. And the big thing is, Iran will not have a nuclear weapon.
How's the president? What's on your agenda for your meeting tomorrow with senators at the lunch about the Save America Act?
Well, we're just going to talk about Save America. We have to pass the Save America Act, which is voter ID, which is proof of citizenship, etc. We have to pass it. So we're going to have to talk about that and many other things. A lot of good relations.
Mr. President, the Senate Majority Leader
told you many times he doesn't believe that they have the votes
That's
to
what
pass
being a leader
it.
is about. You know, he's a leader. John's a leader. That's what being as a leader is about. Look, we have to be able to get proof of citizenship when you vote. Otherwise, we don't have elections. We have to be able to get voter ID. So John is a leader, and hopefully he can get the votes.
Mr. President, on Iran, the Iranians are saying there's no scheduled visit for the IAEA inspectors. Is that part of your agreement?
They're wrong.
So,
They're wrong. They know they're wrong. They told us inside, and we have it down 100% inspection. And if they were right, I'd cancel the meetings right now.
and Iran says there's no agreement to buy ag
From your
products.
view, Mr. President, when will those inspectors actually be on the ground?
At the
in Iran?
appropriate time. At the appropriate time. There's no rush, but they'll be on the ground at the appropriate time.
Sir, on Lebanon, sir, please, Israeli forces have opened fire in southern Lebanon today, killing 2 people. Are you confident that the ceasefire is still holding in
Well, we'll
Lebanon?
see what they've been fighting each other for many, many years, decades, and we'll see. But it's going to come along.
Mr. President, on the reflecting pool, there's a note that our Ryan Ensign reported on that says that she's dead, she's with nature. Is there any hope that the FBI and investigators find her?
I hope they find it. Savannah's gone through a rough. That family's gone through hell. I hope they find it.
Mr. President, on the reflecting pool, you mentioned yesterday that the Interior Department has video and photos. We reached out to them and they haven't shared it with us. Are you going to compel them to release
They've
it?
arrested, I think, 6 people on the reflecting pool. So the reflecting pool looks fantastic. I just got pictures of it. It's beautiful. But somebody went in with a knife and cut it. They cut it up good. And then they cut a 350-foot slip in the form of lots of little slips, a real horrible stuff, and they destroyed the grass. We put a brand new big load of grass out there. They destroyed it. So it's all being fixed, but it's a shame. So I understand 5 or 6 people are arrested. The Interior Department can refer to you on that. And I hear they have 6 people under investigation.
President, you're about to speak to truckers. Truckers are at high risk of losing their jobs to AI because of...
Well, now they're not. You can't get a job. Right now, we have the highest job numbers we've ever had in the country, in the history of the country. And I'm just with a couple of the great senators and congressmen. We're talking, it's actually hard to fill the job. You know, nobody's ever seen a time like this. We have right now so many jobs that are going to be available. And the biggest problem we have is getting the people. So we're really doing spectacular. In this area in Pennsylvania, for steel, Eli Lilly just announced billions of dollars worth of plants. We have more plants being built right now in the United States than at any time in the history of our country.
Mr. President, when you meet with senators tomorrow, what will you say to allies of yours like Senator Cruz who've been critical of the Iran?
Well, I think anybody that's been critical of it has to be educated, even if they're friends of mine. Because we have Iran in a position that nobody's ever had. This should have been done for 47 years by other presidents. And we have Iran in a position where their military has been totally wiped out. Their leadership has been wiped out. Their radar has been wiped out. Everything's been wiped out. They have not a good negotiating position. But despite that, and money that will be taken out of Iran is going to go to our farmers to give corn, soybeans, wheat to Iran because they have a hunger problem, they have a food problem, they have a medicine problem, they got a lot of problems. And they have an inflation. Their inflation now just at 300%. So they have a lot of problems.
Mr. President, are you planning to do a federal takeover of DC soon since it looks likely that a socialist...
So we have a radical left communist elected, I guess, soon to be elected mayor of DC. DC is now a safe, you people know better than anybody, it's a safe, beautiful city. When I came here, it was an unsafe, unkempt, horrible city. It was horrible. The monuments and the waterfalls and the statues and everything were graffiti written, hadn't been fixed in 50 years, clean. Now it's beautiful. We did 52 statues, monuments, waterfalls, including the thing that, you know, where the vandals hit the reflecting pool, but we'll get that back very quickly. In fact, I will say, this morning I sent people over, they say it looks absolutely beautiful. But we're going to have to let a little water out and fix it, and then we'll put the water back in.
on ODNI.
But just so you understand, so our country is doing really well, and we're going to keep it that way. And any senator that didn't vote for all of the things we need, because we're making an amazing deal with Iran. We're making a deal that's going to keep our country and the world safe, because we're not going to let Iran have a nuclear weapon, and they know that, and they agree to that. Thank you very much. Thank you, President.
Sitting under the wing of Air Force One there in Reading, Pennsylvania, chatting with the pool for a little while before heading out.
Okay, got it working. Sometimes when there's storms overhead, things will blink, and I had to plug it back in. But President Trump, he picked up exactly what I was trying to show you. And in terms of the gas prices, or not gas prices, but the oil prices are specifically just about where they were at the time all of this started. So he's been able to take that off the table. The Democrats can't talk about it, and they, for some reason, won't even bother talking about the fraud, which, by the way, has reached epic proportions. I mean, absolute epic proportions, to the point where not enough people know about what's happening. I'm going to play you the press conference. But at this press conference, I love this new GIF. I don't know where it came from. Like, yeah. Part of the Trump-Vance administration war on fraud, led by the White House Fraud Task Force, charges against, sit down, 455 fraudsters. 455 people had charges today, accused of stealing, now really wait for it, $6.5 billion from American taxpayers. And this is in addition to the stuff you've heard earlier in the week. It just keeps compounding. It just keeps getting worse and worse and worse. Democrats don't even talk about it because they know they're complicit. They're involved in all this stuff. They know they've been stealing. And now they're freaking out. Well, no, they're not freaking out publicly. They just won't talk. They don't want people to know. And so when you hear the news of these things, you have to understand this is what you have to begin putting out there. You have to begin letting people know, because they don't. They're talking about the pool. And now they're talking about Savannah Guthrie's mom again. And I'm thinking to myself, what the hell is wrong with this press? They don't want to touch this, which tells me it's directly over the target. They won't even mention it. They won't mention Fauci. They won't mention all the documents that Tulsi Gabbard put out. Won't even talk about it. How can you not talk about all the stuff that she dropped? How can you not talk about all of this fraud? Because you're trying to influence their minds. The pool, the blue pool, the green pool, algae. I don't give a shit about algae, and I'm sure you don't either. This is the stuff that affects your daily lives, and probably did affect your lives back when the whole jabademic happened. So I'm gonna jump into this real quick. It's 1:27. It's just a jaw dropper of a press conference. Man, it's really, really, really bad. SV sent me some snippets as well. So we're going to try and watch this, and then we'll get back and forth with some questions on it before President Trump comes in. A little bit of housekeeping. We got this rally at 2 o'clock, and then tomorrow looks like it might be a 2-show day, because we'll do a day show because there's so much news to cover here, and I'll have to push it back till tomorrow. And then at 7 o'clock, there's a big rally at the Great American Fair. So it's a whole lot going on. Democrats got nothing. It's crazy, absolutely crazy. Let me tell you before, SV, let me just bring him on. Hey, man, hey, test your mic, because people say you're
Hey, wait, hey, I hear some of the people.
algae alert. Oh my gosh. Just complete
Holy crap,
shit.
there's a lot of news going on today.
A lot of news. And I know you sent me a couple of stories, and I can't hit those right now because you're going to see it here in a second. So we're backed up. 2 o'clock, he's supposed to go on. This press conference is for 46 minutes, and with us jumping in and giving commentary, I think we'll get it in because he's never on time. But watch today; he'll walk out 2 o'clock promptly.
I have tons of filler, Barry. You know how we do. We're doing this live.
Yeah, it's completely live. So let me go ahead and jump into it, SV. Thank you for being here today. And let's get going on. Before that, I want to remind you about tomorrow, in case you've ever wondered how politicians seem to, I don't know, game the market and buy stocks at the perfect time, right before some major world events. Even when I've been telling you some of this stuff, Barry, how do you know it's about to happen? Well, there's a way that you can understand. You can understand how these people are buying things just before they know the bottom's going to drop out or that the bottom's going to explode. Either way. But here's the crazy part. Those trades are actually public information. As long as you don't do it like Ilhan Omar, you're going to be okay, which means everyday investors like you and me can follow exactly what they're doing. So my friend Ross Givens is hosting a free training session tomorrow. Free. Doesn't cost you a dime. That's why I'm really pushing you guys to take a look at it. Tomorrow at 3 o'clock p.m., where he's going to show you live exactly how it all works. He's been tracking insider trades for nearly a decade, and some have returned over 1,000%. I couldn't believe some of the stuff that I learned the first time Ross showed me, exactly how someone can follow these trades as well. This is going to be big, especially this time of year, and seats are limited. So click the link below in the description or scan the QR code on your screen to register and then come back over here. Go to insidertradeswithbarry.com and insidertradeswithbarry.com and grab one of the final spots. Trust me, you're going to love it. Again, go to insidertradeswithbarry.com and register for the free training. It's quick to sign up. You can watch it from anywhere. And as I said, it's 100% free, and you can see how this thing works. So I'm not going to go to the intro. I'm just going to jump right into the press conference so we can get this in.
Good morning, everybody. Today we are here to announce the results of the 2026 National Healthcare Fraud Takedown. This announcement marks the greatest combined federal and state effort in combating healthcare fraud in history. Thanks to the leadership of President Trump and the Vice President and all those folks standing behind me and next to me, we are more united than ever before. This team is working tirelessly to take down fraudsters who steal from taxpayer-funded programs and prey on vulnerable Americans. When we talk about the team that's working on these cases, I want to give some context around that. There are 9 healthcare fraud strike forces that have been part of this effort, 57 U.S. attorneys' offices, 41 state attorney general's offices, not red states, not blue states, but both working together with the federal government. Multiple law enforcement agencies, including inspector generals, some of the agencies that are here with me on this stage. That's what we talk about when we say this is an all-government approach to combating fraud. It's not just the Department of Justice. It's not just HHS. It's all government, including working with our state and local partners. Today, we are announcing federal and state charges, all of which were charged or unsealed at some point over the past 2 weeks, the past 14 days, coordinated nationwide action. Since June 8th, we've charged 455 defendants across 56, like I said a minute ago, U.S. attorneys' offices, and 45 U.S. states and territories. As alleged in the various indictments, these individuals participated in healthcare fraud schemes involving over $6.5 billion in false claims submitted to Medicare, Medicaid, and other healthcare programs. The team around me will get into more specifics, but here are a few points that stand out. In one indictment, we're bringing charges against a corporate executive in Arizona in connection to over a $1 billion fraud involving unnecessary wound grafts. This alleged scheme costs Medicare over $1 million per patient. In total, Our indictment charges 11 defendants for over $2 billion in fraudulent claims in connection to alleged wound care schemes. The indictment also alleges that these individuals then used the taxpayer money to bankroll multi-million-dollar homes, luxury vehicles like a $135,000 Maserati, jewelry like an $865,000 Bulgari necklace, and to top it all off, to fund the construction of a $4.6 million hotel at a beach resort in the Philippines. We're taking back the money, the luxury cars, the jewelry, and these alleged fraudsters will face justice. The coordinated actions of the past 2 weeks have resulted in over $182 million in cash and other assets seized, making clear our healthcare fraud enforcement efforts generate a significant return on investment for our taxpayers. In terms of Medicaid fraud, we're able to announce today the creation of the West Coast Strike Force and the deployment of additional prosecutors, allowing us to bring charges against a record-setting 295 defendants. Our indictments allege over $518 million in Medicaid fraud between these individual defendants. You're going to hear from Director Patel in a moment, but apprehending alleged fraudsters remains a top priority of the Department of Justice and the FBI and our other law enforcement partners, including the DEA, who's here as well. At last year's takedown, a year ago, we charged multiple individuals for allegedly running a $10.6 billion medical equipment scheme using stolen identities to make false Medicare claims. Today, I can announce that earlier this month, we apprehended 2 of those defendants extradited from Estonia. Separately, over the weekend, we conducted the foreign transfer to custody of a defendant who is allegedly connected to another $3.7 billion in intended loss.
You know, part of the problem with this is you're hearing these numbers, and if you're like me and you're hearing this, you're like, oh my gosh, billions, not tens of thousands, billions that they've, and this is just now. We don't know how far back this has happened. How long has this grift been going on that they've just been stealing from us over and over? And as I've said many times, these people could not be doing what they've been doing without the help of somebody inside government showing them how to steal the money, which means that probably a kickback came to them. It's impossible. I would venture to say none of us could decide we're going to open up a wound care or a hospice tomorrow and figure out which documents to fill out and how to set up a fake bank account into a third-party name so we're getting all this money. You just can't do it. And now understand, you're an American. You understand working in different systems, the DMV and all this stuff. You've been doing it for decades. Oh yeah, I know. Got to go to the DMV today. Got to fill out 18 forms. Yeah, I got to go to Social Security office. Got to figure out all these forms, or the VA. And somehow these dirty sandal idiots come from another country and steal billions. And they don't even know where to find food. They don't understand how to wash their feet, crusty feet. And all of a sudden they're here buying Maseratis and diamonds and luxury property. Seriously, no way.
I want to thank our tireless federal, state, and local law enforcement agencies who work hard every day and participated in these whole-of-government operations. This is just the beginning. Fraudsters can no longer rip off American taxpayers. If you seek to harm or cheat Americans, we will find you, seize any assets, and prosecute you to the fullest extent of the law. Thank you very much. I'm going to turn it over now to Secretary Kennedy. Thank you.
Thank you, Attorney General Blanche, and thank you to the White House Fraud Task Force, to Colin McDonald of the Justice Department, to Director Kash Patel of the FBI, to the HHS Office of Inspector General, Dr. Oz and the CMS team, and the investigators and law enforcement officers who brought these cases forward. President Trump directed this administration to confront healthcare fraud aggressively, and we are doing that. The 2026 National Healthcare Fraud Takedown uncovered $6.5 billion in alleged fraud, the second largest amount ever charged in a single healthcare fraud operation. The Department of Justice charged a record number of Medicaid fraud defendants. More than 440 defendants now face charges. This effort brought together federal agencies, state partners, and U.S. territories across the United States. 18 of the participating states, as Attorney General Blanche pointed out, were blue states with Democratic governors. Fraud does not recognize party lines, and neither does accountability. Today's cases include the largest Medicaid fraud enforcement action in the Department of history, 165 defendants charged with allegedly submitting more than $200 million in false claims to Medicaid. These schemes did not target government programs, they targeted the American taxpayer. They stole money from workers who pay taxes, from families who depend on Medicare and Medicaid, and from patients who trusted their healthcare professionals to be serving their health interests when it turns out they were just chasing money from our agencies. The allegations in these cases are particularly disturbing. Some defendants allegedly ordered medically unnecessary tests. Others prescribed products that patients did not need. Some allegedly fueled opioid addiction to increase their own revenue. In certain cases, patients allegedly died while believing they were receiving legitimate medical care from providers who only viewed them as billing opportunities. These defendants did not simply break the law, they violated the trust that patients place in medical professionals. One of today's indictments charged a hospice owner in Los Angeles area and two marketers in a $27.7 million Medicare fraud scheme. According to the indictment, the owner paid illegal kickbacks to obtain personal information of deceased Medicare beneficiaries. One of the ways that Colin and Dr. Oz have been chasing down hospice fraud, we've closed now 800 hospices in LA. And one of the ways that we've been able to detect that fraud is that in many of them, the patients never die. They live forever. That's not supposed to happen in hospices. And this particular owner was actually going out and purchasing names from coroners of dead patients and then billing us for those, to make it appear that some of his patients were actually finally dying. And while taxpayers funded these false claims, the owner purchased a Rolls-Royce Phantom. That case illustrates exactly what is at stake. Every fraudulent dollar diverted into a criminal scheme is a dollar unavailable for patient care, for medical innovation, or for services for vulnerable Americans. During the Biden administration, my predecessor implemented two reforms at HHS. One of those was the so-called pay and chase system. We know when invoices come into my agency, we can tell that some of them are fraudulent or probably fraudulent. And the new system said, we're not going to stop those payments. We want everybody paid, and then we'll claw them back at the end. It was called pay and chase. And when I asked people, the careers at HHS, how could you do this? This is crazy, because of course we never claw back anything. They said that they were told to focus on enrollment and not fraud. The other thing that they did is to liquidate our program integrity office. So when my predecessor came into office, there were 80 people in program integrity, which is not enough, because 50 states and 5 territories. And when I got in, there was only 6 left. So all of those people were transferred or let go, and we were literally doing no program integrity. And that opened up the floodgates for all of this fraud. $100 billion in fraud a year that are being stolen now from my agency. The federal government paid claims first and chased fraud after the money was out the door. And that approach, of course, failed taxpayers. We are ending it. HHS is replacing the old pay and chase system with a detect and prevent strategy that identifies suspicious claims, before the taxpayer dollars ever leave the Treasury. We are deploying advanced artificial intelligence and data analytics to identify fraudulent billing patterns in real time, stop improper payments before they occur, and strengthen oversight across federal health programs. Our objective is straightforward: to stop the fraud before it happens. The people charged today should understand that we will continue expanding these capabilities, strengthening enforcement, and pursuing every credible allegation of fraud. If you exploit patients for profit, if you steal Medicaid or Medicare dollars, if you treat taxpayer dollars as your personal bank account, we will investigate you, we will build the case, and we will bring you to justice. We will find fraud, we will stop it, we will recover taxpayer dollars whenever the law permits, and we will restore integrity to the programs that millions of Americans rely on for their care. Thank you, and I now want to introduce Colin McDonald from the Justice Department.
Thank you, Secretary Kennedy. Today's record healthcare fraud charges and arrests makes clear that there is no case too big, no scheme too complex, and no hiding place too remote for our fraud-fighting team. In just 14 days, 455 defendants have been charged across the country for schemes involving over $6.5 billion in fraud. Under the leadership of President Trump, Vice President Vance, and Attorney General Blanche, the Department of Justice is aggressively scaling our offensive against anyone using health care as a front to steal from the American people. But today's cases allege more than the theft of taxpayer dollars. Many allege the theft of human dignity. Our sick, needy, and elderly, placing their faith in the gift of medicine, were neglected, ignored, and used for personal profit. For example, one defendant is charged with conspiring to submit approximately $89 million in false and fraudulent claims for cardiovascular tests. This defendant allegedly used marketing tactics designed to prey on fears that student athletes could die from sudden cardiac arrest. He then allegedly rubber-stamped test results as normal without reviewing them. Despite one patient's test results showing an enlarged heart, the defendant allegedly signed off on the test results within approximately 11 seconds of accessing the 63 test result images. As a result, the student was cleared to play, and he suffered sudden cardiac arrest and died on the basketball court just weeks later. That is why we cannot and will not tolerate fraud in healthcare. How are we going about targeting fraud in healthcare? We are following the data. Data talks and data doesn't lie. It identifies where fraud is happening and unmasks the perpetrators driving it. For example, our data analytics team observed a dramatic spike in payments for allografts, from less than $1 billion in 2021 to over $14 billion just 4 years later. Our resulting investigations have led to criminal charges against 11 defendants across 6 districts for allograft fraud, including a company executive and 8 medical professionals. What happened here, to be clear, was not medicine. The defendants in these schemes purchased allografts for $30 to $75, inflated the price up to nearly 50 times that cost with the tab picked up by the taxpayers, and then secretly gave lucrative kickbacks for allografts applied. Marketers and nurses who took kickbacks targeted vulnerable hospice patients, making in many instances over $1 million per patient. These allograft fraud charges are the result of just one of our many data-driven initiatives. We are announcing today the first prosecution arising out of our Financial Intelligence Review Team, a cutting-edge effort to combine traditional data analytics with financial information. In less than 7 months, After identifying a suspicious behavioral health provider in Illinois, we brought charges against a defendant for a $67 million Medicaid fraud scheme. The defendant allegedly billed Medicaid for providing behavioral health services to patients who received no services and were actually even hospitalized at entirely separate health facilities at the time of the billings. Today is just the beginning of a new era of healthcare fraud enforcement. The Fraud Division's Healthcare Fraud Unit, which led today's nationwide takedown, is one of the best investments across the government, saving $106 for every dollar spent. And with the whole of government laser focused on rooting out fraud, under the leadership of the White House Task Force to Eliminate Fraud, we are rapidly enhancing our fraud fighting capabilities. Today, we are announcing an agreement with the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services to obtain dedicated cloud computing space in the CMS's cloud environment to run real-time advanced analytical models to detect fraud.
I got to stop you. Yeah, were you here yesterday? Were you here when President Trump signed the executive order about amplifying quantum technology? Did you just hear what he just said? They're able to do a lot of this stuff because they are now using supercomputers to find the fraud instead of somebody going through and trying to find out what's happened here. Hey, this guy, he just billed for like $5 million and having to go and look at all these receipts. It is now becoming apparent to me that the reason why government never updated its systems, because they knew if the systems were never updated, it would be extremely hard to find the fraud. So I don't know how long they've been implementing these systems. And like I told you yesterday, the fact that they're going public with it means they've been doing it for quite some time. And now they're basically telling you, we are mining this stuff.
We are also announcing agreements with the Federal Trade Commission and Customs and Border Protection to eliminate data silos and enrich our algorithms. And we're coordinating with prosecutors, agents, and analysts from across state and federal government at a scale and scope that has never before existed until today. The era of getting rich off America's healthcare system is over. If you defraud the American people and put profit over patients, we will do everything we can to put you in prison. I'll now turn the podium over to a critical partner in our fight against fraud, Director Kash Patel.
Thank you. America, you should take a look. You should take a look at what leadership from the White House and the President Trump's prioritization to go after and combat fraud looks like. America should take a look at the Vice President's task force and the initiative by the Justice Department here under AG Todd Blanche and AAG Colin McDonald. Fraud is no longer being tolerated, it is not being put up with, and you've seen the staggering numbers that in just the last 2 weeks, that's all we're here to talk about today, is just the last 2 weeks of fraud, of perpetrators and criminals who have been arrested and apprehended from around the world.
Last 2 weeks. Last 2 weeks of as they've gotten $6 billion and 450 people in the last 2 weeks. This is incredible. And nobody in, basically even Fox, I haven't seen much on it. This is probably the biggest story of the week. And nobody's talking about it. They must be terrified. They must be shaking in their boots, understanding that there's some sort of quantic LLM module AI that is in there digging and finding the fraud. 2 weeks. It took us 2 weeks. So what the hell was the Biden administration doing? Well, they're just facilitating it, just letting the money go out the door. They're freaking out because Bill Pulte is firing all these different people. We don't need you. Did you think that AI was only going to take the place of the waitress at Starbucks? No, it's going to take the place of many of these idiots who are sitting in Washington doing nothing but filing their nails and then going outside and getting their fancy car and go home. Oh, it's 5 o'clock. I got to go. Didn't do anything all day. I bet you there's LLM and AI models right now that are looking at productivity. What does this person do all day? How much do they get paid? I can't wait till they start talking about the productivity monitoring in addition to the outside fraud.
Over $6 and $7 billion in fraud, in money stolen from the American people, our precious taxpayer dollars that are supposed to service our seniors and our kids, were being stolen outright by individuals who thought they could get away with it. But thanks to the Trump administration and the Vice President's task force and the White House task force and the Department of Justice's courageous prosecutors, we have now been able to charge a record number of individuals. I just want to go over a couple of things. One such individual, the FBI is responsible for what we call foreign transfer of custodies, FTOCs. Last week, the FBI executed 4 FTOCs on 4 separate continents in 24 hours. We did this because we had the backing of the White House and the U.S. government and the Department of Justice to go out and apprehend criminals wherever they are. One such individual related to fraud was apprehended in Turkey thanks to the relationships and partnerships between Ambassador Tom Barrack and the Turkish government. Mr. Hilmi was arrested after perpetrating a multi-billion-dollar fraud in Turkey, apprehended and transferred back to the United States of America while he faced prosecution. I also want to highlight the Vice President's brilliant idea to put together a most wanted fraudsters list. The FBI has always had our top 10 most wanted fugitive list. But in 2 weeks ago, I think we were all in Ohio, where we announced our most wanted fraudsters list. And in just the last 2 weeks, thanks to the help of the American people and the world, we have apprehended 2 of the most wanted fraudsters already. One of those individuals, Herbert Leon Kimball, was apprehended in the Philippines. He's an American citizen. He had been bilking, allegedly, the system against Medicaid for billions of dollars since 2014, $1.2 billion in telemedicine specifically alone. That individual was apprehended in the Philippines and transported back to the United States of America, where he will now face justice. This is the reach of the United States government. This is the reach of this team, the interagency and state and local partners focused on one mission and one mission alone: to combat fraud and make sure the American public's precious taxpayer dollars go where they're supposed to go, to the American people that need them the most, and not to these criminals who are stealing from us day in and day out. Those days are over, and this should showcase to the world the length that we will go as an interagency and as a task force to apprehend and arrest and bring to justice anyone who steals our dollars that are meant for our most vulnerable citizens. We're also going to ask what we did in Ohio a couple of weeks ago, and we'll circulate it on social media later. We're adding 2 more individuals to the most wanted fraudster list. I said then, and I've said it before, the American people in the world are our best sources of information. There is no such thing as bad information. So if you have any information on Khalid Sitari, who is wanted for a $547 million genetic testing scheme and we believe to be hiding in the United Arab Emirates, call 1-800-CALL-FBI, 1-800-CALL-FBI. Let us know. You saw what we did in just 2 weeks by apprehending 2 of the most wanted fraudsters. With your help, we will apprehend the rest of them. The last one is Emily Tai, who's also wanted in connection with the genetic testing scheme for allegedly stealing $90 million. And she was previously on an ankle monitor and fled, we believe, to Vietnam. So if the American public or anyone in the world has information on Emily Tai, please call 1-800-CALL-FBI. We need your information, we need your help, and you have now seen what we can collectively do as an interagency under the Attorney General's brilliant leadership and the prioritization at the White House, that fraud will not be tolerated, that fraud perpetrators will be apprehended not just across the United States of America, but from the 4 corners of the world. So we plead with you to give us any and all information that you have. And again, the only type of bad information is the one that we don't receive from you. So please call 1-800-CALL-FBI with any information on any of the fraudsters on our most wanted list. And this should be a clear message to the world that the FBI, along with our interagency partners, are not tolerating fraud anymore. And we will chase them down just like we chase down terrorists, narco-traffickers, gangbangers, and those that wish to do harm to our communities, because this type of harm is equally as harmful to our most vulnerable. Thank you. And I now turn it over.
Before they bring up the next person, I used the term, and people were, what the hell is that? I used the term LLM when I was talking. See, one of the things about AI that people aren't understanding with data centers and everything else, they're not understanding all of the core components of AI. AI is just a big umbrella. An LLM, and I got it for you so you guys could actually see it here. An LLM, people are like, what in the heck is Barry talking about? LLM most commonly stands for large language model. It says in technology and AI, a large language model is a type of artificial intelligence. It's trained on massive amounts of data like books, articles, websites, and LLMs are designed to understand, summarize, translate, and generate human-like text. So how it works, LLMs use advanced mathematical and statistical patterns to predict the next logical word or phrase in a sentence based on the context you provide. Instead of truly knowing facts, they leverage deep learning and specifically a neural network architecture known as a transformer to process and generate language. And I know that's kind of like confusing, but LLMs are the brains powering the modern wave of AI, including ChatGPT, Gemini, Claude, probably Grok, and it allows the AI to think and go ahead and parse data. So you can put terms like, Medicare, technique or something that someone uses. It can look at all this stuff and it can assimilate tons of data in literally seconds and minutes. Where if I put you on a task, hey, listen, go look up all the, the claims that John Smith, it might take you forever to do it. They do it in literally minutes. It's that fast. And so they're able to now parse so much data before it gets too far.
Over to our brilliant partner, Dr. Oz.
Okay, before Dr. Oz gets up, you got to listen closely here because I'm pretty sure all of this, not all of it, a good part of this, just like it was with Tim Walz and got him out of the race, what he's going to tell you coming up is got to be Gavin Newsom's worst nightmare.
I'm going to put my doctor's hat on here. There's two issues that we have not gone into in detail, but they've been mentioned by many. The first is affordability. The $100 billion that Secretary Kennedy mentioned is stolen from Medicare and Medicaid. If we were able to just take that out of what's being stolen from Medicare, would double the life expectancy of the Medicare Trust Fund. It massively changes what people pay when we tolerate this kind of fraud. The second big message, again, is that costs matter. They matter a lot. And they're measured oftentimes in ways that we can put on signs. But the actual cost is that of human health and the lives of humans hurt by these fraudsters because they don't care about you. If they're willing to steal your money when you're down and out and struggling and you're vulnerable, they will definitely take your health and take your life if that's required. Today's actions are the results of months of painstaking collaboration by law enforcement agencies represented on this stage. The U.S. Attorney, of course, the White House Anti-Fraud Task Force, the FBI, HHS OIG, CMS colleagues, all of us worked tirelessly towards one goal, making sure that people who steal from Medicare and Medicaid face real consequences because it scares away future perpetrators. As Secretary Kennedy mentioned, the general approach has been slow, meandering, and non-consequential for fraudsters, which is why after COVID, they rushed into this space. CMS's role in this partnership has fundamentally changed because of the nature of the fraudsters. We now use techniques that historically were never thought of. Instead of just flagging problems, we build cases. Under the leadership of Secretary Kennedy, we've created a stellar team at CMS. Fraud fighters, including Kim Brandt and Janine Ugo and others who brilliantly reinvent how we catch these criminals. And by the time our law enforcement partners are ready to move, we aim to hand them a file that is already complete, already ready, supported by payment suspensions and provider revocations, funding deferrals, real-time fraud detection that never existed before. Now, the numbers tell the story. I'm going to give you two really important ones. The first is, in the first quarter of last year, we revoked billing privileges for fraudsters of 1,006 providers. Pretty good result, we thought, at the time. This same period this year, the first quarter, we made 1,400 revocations. That's a 40% increase over last year. So 40% more revocations. We also have payment suspensions where we just don't pay the bill because we don't think it's legitimate. This is impressive. The first half of this year, we made 1,000 Medicare payment suspensions. 1,000. That's a lot of people. Nearly 800, by the way, from one state, California. For a similar period last year, we made 219 suspensions. So a five-fold, 500% increase in payment suspensions because we're using tools now that historically had been used marginally. Now, these efforts brand.
That was important. Out of 1,000 of these suspensions, 800 of them were in California alone. And the reason why they're finding it is because they're using tools that they were never able to use before. Just saying, here's where AI and all of the LLMs and everything with quantum is going to do so much to save America.
All kinds of new tools for Medicare and Medicaid. The fraud war room that has been put together is a purpose-built tool to identify, track, and neutralize bad actors, often from foreign countries, much more effectively than the old system. The formula is straightforward. The DOJ brings a prosecutorial firepower, law enforcement brings investigative tools, CMS brings data, the analytics, we use administrative muscle to push things through, and we are closing loopholes that fraudsters have avoided and been exploiting for years. Those days are over. Fraudsters, your time is up. Now, speaking of fraudsters, I want to highlight an important case that drives home what everyone on the stage really feels deeply in our heart. Kim, if you can be, this is Kim Brent that I mentioned earlier, just bring that poster of the young man up. This young man has been referred to already. His name is Caden Francis. I spoke to his mother last night. Kim, just bring it up if you don't mind. Looks like a pretty good athlete. This young man was involved in a scheme run by fraudsters, including doctors, a cardiovascular testing company whose medical director approved EKGs and echocardiograms, as was mentioned earlier, by Colin, in as little as 11 seconds. That was this kid's case. The EKG was taken. His parents were told he was fine. The doctor, we believe, from the moment he got the image to said it was fine was 11 seconds. The parents who had been marketed to, claiming that their kid might be at risk, were therefore told the kid was fine, when in fact nothing had been done. The October EKG was read as normal. The kid was dead a month later. Now, I talked to the mom, of course, still in pain. The family was told the tests were normal. Unfortunately, and despite all these internal communications that we revealed, which acknowledged by the company that they knew these were not normal tests and they had done something terribly wrong, they kept doing it. So that kid was hurt irreparably, passed away because nothing was done about these fraudsters, and they went right after it. Their company billed over $90 million while a child was buried by their family. No remorse whatsoever. Caden's mother wanted me to give you a quote. I'm going to read it exactly as she gave it to me. The doctor is as bad as any greedy criminal who is killing people in the streets. I hope he rots in jail so no one else is hurt, but my son will never come back to me. That's the real human costs that we were speaking of on the stage. Julian, the mother, shared the autopsy and revealed that her son's heart was 2.5 times normal. Instead of being this big, I'm a heart surgeon, that's a normal size heart, the size of your fist, 2.5 times larger than that. There is no way you could miss that, except they didn't care. That's why mom wants them to rot in hell. This is not a diagnostic company, it's a predatory scheme dressed up in medical clothing, and we're going to treat it as such. We've got a couple big breakthroughs. I mean, put them in some of these numbers to at least give you some confidence that the pay and chase model that CMS had relied on, that Secretary Kennedy spoke to, has been abandoned. And instead, we don't want the money going out the back door. We want the fraud detected as soon as it happens, and we can stop it that way. In original Medicare so far, in the year of 2025, we've done a remarkable job. In 2024, before he came in, we saved about 60% less money than this. So total amount of money saved last year, $42 billion. That's a return on investment of $22 for every dollar that we pulled back for the American taxpayer. 2/3 of those savings, $28 billion, came from simply locking the front door, never letting the money go out the door. That's provider revocations, automated claim denials, all the things that should have been done years ago. No longer will that money be taken out of your pocketbooks. We've achieved this with only a 5% increase in Medicare program integrity spending. This is the best way for us to spend your tax dollars wisely. The Medicaid side is more difficult because states run Medicaid, but we've been on that as well. Savings reached $4 billion last year. That's a 165 increase over the prior year. And that we did that actually by spending 7% less money. So we spent less money, brought in more fraudsters, saved you a lot more money. These results don't happen by accident. They reflect a deliberate strategic shift in how CMS operates, and they show what's possible when agencies stop working in silos and start working as partners, like the White House Anti-Fraud Task Force has been able to achieve. Jetson Leader Lewis, Jake Foster, OIG Leader March Bell, Rebecca Yuan. There's lots of other people in the room right now who deserve a lot of credit. All of us agree with the President and the Vice President that the best prescription for a fraudster is prosecution. The era of champagne on private jets is over. No longer will champagne and private jets be paid for by the American taxpayer. Andrew Ferguson leads that White House anti-fraud task force, together with Colin McDonald and the vice president. I asked him to come up and say a few words.
Thank you, Dr. Oz. The President said he wanted a whole-of-government approach to combating healthcare fraud and fraud across all our benefits programs, and this is the result. Every major leader in this space from the federal government is standing up here, and all have contributed in critically important ways to this effort. Investigators, prosecutors, healthcare specialists, the leadership at HHS and at CMS have made today possible. I also want to thank Jake Foster and his team, Justin Woodward and Rebecca Uya at DOJ at the healthcare fraud unit that has broken records with today's effort, not just in their own prosecutions, but in harnessing the power of the U.S. attorneys and state attorneys general to make today possible. The vice president has always said we have to take a two-pronged approach to this. We have to stop the money from getting out of the agencies. Administrator Oz and Secretary Kennedy have talked about that. And then we have to impose consequences on people that have defrauded the American government. And we've been saying that we're doing this to save these programs from the fraud that is bleeding them dry, that will make them unavailable in the future for future generations, to protect the investment, the trillions of dollars of investment that every American taxpayer makes every single year to help their friends, their neighbors, and strangers in times of need. But I also, like Dr. Oz, I want to talk about the real human toll of this for a minute. I want to talk about skin substitutes or allografts. 5 years ago, Medicare was paying out less than $1 billion every year in allografts and skin substitutes. By 2025, almost $15 billion. These programs were riddled with fraud. And yes, that's a problem because it takes money out of all of our pockets and puts it into the hands of the worst people on the planet. But this doesn't just affect all of us. These frauds affect individual American citizens in horrifying ways. We saw this, for example, in Minnesota, where a program designed to protect veterans from homelessness was so attacked by fraudsters, they had to shut the thing down because they couldn't afford it anymore. I want to talk about a particular case that the department has indicted today out of the District of Nevada, where a nurse practitioner is accused of having bilked Medicaid for almost $1 billion in skin substitute allografts. But this isn't just filing fake claims and trying to take money out of our pockets. She was performing these skin substitute procedures on vulnerable elderly Americans in hospices and in nursing homes, and then submitting those claims. She was using human beings, American citizens, as living piggy banks, and that she took the money she got from those living piggy banks and she bought $865,000 necklaces that the department seized. She bought a almost $500,000 Ferrari that the department also seized. We've heard a lot about the numbers today. We've heard how many records have been broken by the Department of Justice's and HHS's incredible efforts today. But the numbers shouldn't be treated as an abstraction. This doesn't just affect the whole country as taxpayers. Real human beings, American citizens, are physically maimed because of this fraud. So shutting down this fraud, killing these incentives for people to commit fraud, putting people in jail to commit these frauds, aren't just about protecting the fisc. They're not just about protecting the program. They are about protecting our fellow American citizens from the worst of us. That is why this is so important. That's why the vice president assembled this task force at the president's direction. And this is the result. The entire federal government deploying all of its resources at home and abroad to end the fraud and to protect American citizens.
If you like me, when I heard that, it almost made me puke. It just reminded me of the movie Silence of the Lambs, where they're making skin suits. They're taking people and they're taking their skin off and doing God knows what with it, and then billing for millions and billions of dollars. They're literally using old people as guinea pigs. I didn't know if you honed in on that, but I heard it and I was like, wait a second. Not only are you stealing money, but you're acting like serial killers? You're making skin suits? It's bad enough that you're stealing money. We understand you're stealing money, but now you're going to take that to another level and absolutely assail people, abuse them? For what? You already got the money. Why did you have to skin somebody alive, basically? This is sick. And the Democrats and the media Won't even talk about it. I doubt once you leave here, you'll see this information anywhere else. You're like, this lady's making friggin' skin suits.
And so with that, I'm going to turn it over to DEA Administrator Terry Cole.
Thank you, and Mr. Attorney General, good morning, sir. We stand here today united to share the commitment to protect Americans and save American lives. It's been said, but bears repeating, healthcare fraud is not just a financial crime. It's a public safety threat, a public health threat, and a direct threat to the trust the Americans place in our healthcare system. Let me be clear. Medical providers who fuel addiction, endanger lives, and profit from pain they cause are no different than any other drug trafficker. DEA occupies a unique place in this fight. We sit at the intersection of healthcare, regulation, and law enforcement. Our job is to protect the controlled substance supply chain and stop those who seek to exploit it. The CSA created a closed system of distribution, one designed to keep medications available for legitimate care while preventing diversion and abuse. Every link in that chain has a responsibility to protect patients and to preserve trust in the system. Being a DEA registrant is not just a privilege. It is a responsibility. It is a promise to patients that medical decisions will be based on clinical judgment, not financial gain. While the vast majority of healthcare professionals honor that promise, criminals have found ways to exploit the system for personal gain. As both a law enforcement and regulatory agency, DEA sees things others don't. We connect the dots between drug diversion, fraud, and criminal activity. And when we find those abusing positions of trust, we act. We use every authority available, criminal, civil, and administrative, to protect patients and preserve trust in our nation's healthcare system. In this takedown alone, DEA developed 18 criminal and civil cases in coordination with U.S. attorneys' offices and issued a record 928 administrative actions to prevent future harm. This includes 205 orders to show cause, 53 immediate suspensions, and 642 surrenders for cause. In one case we work with our partners, we uncovered $36 million in Medicaid fraud, resulting in the seizure of $15 million in U.S. currency, 6 aircrafts from a single physician. In another case, we identified a pillar of a pill mill, clinics operating, that were issuing more than 2 million oxycodone prescriptions.
Did he just say they seized 6 airplanes from one guy? 6. You don't hear them talking about, raise their taxes or your fair share for some of these people. 6 airplanes? What the hell are you doing with 6 airplanes? I used to work for a billionaire. He had one jet. What are you doing with 6 airplanes? This is beyond comprehension. There are literally no words for what these people have been doing.
And over 900,000 hydrocodone prescriptions. Each scheme chips away at the safeguards put into place to ensure every patient gets the medication they need, safely and lawfully. Americans should never have to wonder whether a prescription was written because it was needed or because someone saw an opportunity to profit. Our message to any medical provider who abuses that trust is simple. If you choose personal greed over professional responsibility, DEA will hold you accountable. DEA has been entrusted to save American lives. We will not stand idle while criminals exploit patients, abuse positions of trust, and put profit over people. Thank you. And now I'd like to welcome HSI Matt Mulholland.
Thanks, sir.
Good morning. My name is Matthew Mulholland. I'm the Acting Deputy Executive Associate Director of Homeland Security Investigations, the principal investigative arm of the Department of Homeland Security. Today's announcement marks a pivotal moment in our nation's ongoing fight against healthcare fraud. A crime that steals from American taxpayers, it puts vulnerable patients at risk. As part of the Department of Homeland Security, HSI is proud to stand alongside our partners in this historic effort. HSI's mission is clear: to safeguard the American public and economy from criminal organizations and individuals who seek to exploit our benefits system for personal gain. Healthcare fraud undermines trust in our healthcare system and diverts resources from those who need them most. This year's National Healthcare Fraud Takedown is the largest in history, with 455 defendants charged across 45 states and territories, and more than $6.5 billion in alleged fraud uncovered. HSI plays a critical role in investigating the transnational criminal networks behind this fraud, identifying and apprehending fugitives overseas, and disrupting schemes that span across borders. Our special agents, working closely with the Department of Justice, HHS, the FBI, the DEA, our local and state and international partners, demonstrated extraordinary dedication and expertise. Using advanced data analytics and financial intelligence to follow money, seize assets, and ensure accountability at every level. Their commitment, collaboration, and innovation have made today's results possible. Together, we've shown that no criminal, no matter how sophisticated or well hidden, can evade the reach of the U.S. government. HSI remains steadfast in its commitment to protecting the American people, defending the integrity of our nation's financial infrastructure, and ensuring that those who abuse it are held accountable. Today's actions send a powerful message. If you target our healthcare programs, you will be found, you will be prosecuted, and you will be brought to justice. Thank you.
All right, thanks, everybody. We'll take a couple questions on what we're here for today. If you want to hear from somebody in particular on stage, just feel free to lead with that. Any questions? Alex?
Yeah, last year's announcement, it was $14.6 billion of intended fraud loss. This year, you said it's $6.5 billion. I'm wondering, can you explain the discrepancy there? Is this as a result of fewer prosecutions, less money, or is, as Dr. Oz mentioned, the idea that you guys are catching this before the money goes out the door? Is that having an impact?
Yeah, look, I think it's a combination of everything you just said. It's a combination. There were a couple cases last year that made that number that high, and so we said this year we have been doing an extraordinary amount of work. And when I say we, I'm not saying the Department of Justice. I'm saying everybody on the stage and the folks in the back. And part of that work includes turning off the spigot. That's right. And so it includes more detection early on that stops the claims from even going anywhere near a payment being issued. And that's part of the reason. And so, yeah, we had a great year last year, too, when it comes to combating fraud. If you are an American taxpayer, you should be extraordinarily happy with what you see on the stage right now. Not only because of what we're talking about today, but because of what we were talking about a year ago when we had a similar day. And I expect that you're going to hear more from us over the next several months, because this, for the first time, at least in modern history, everybody is working together. When we talked about state AGs, we're talking about Republicans, Democrats, we're talking about New York, we're talking about Florida. This is a chronic problem that was actually hurting so many people, not only financially, but thievery, but also hurting, like you heard today, the stories. So look, I think we had a great year last year, right? A phenomenal year this year, and I expect there'll be more happening over the next year, the rest of the year.
And then just an off topic, if I could.
No off topics. Next question.
All right, that's going to be very important. You're going to hear something in the next couple minutes. This guy wanted to go off topic. Todd Bland said, no, we're talking about this right here. How could you want to talk about another topic when you just got billions of fraud dumped in your lap? But that's where the media is. Hey, let's talk about something else. Of course you want to talk about something else.
We got a lot of people here for this reason. So we got a lot of people here for this reason. And they give up their time. So next question. Yes.
He gets to ask his question on the topic that he chooses. We're not here as spectators, so.
Did you hear that? That same reporter that he said, no, we're not taking off topics. When the woman, as she began to ask her question, oh, it's okay, you're on topic. He won't take any other questions. I'd have thrown him out the room right there. Just get out.
Spoke with both Democratic and Republican leaders working with federal authorities to identify these cases or investigate and provide facts.
I think, Colin, you want to handle that?
Yes, thank you for the question. And just to clarify, last year, which was a great result by our department, there were 324 defendants that were charged in last year's takedown. Today, 455 in the last 14 days have been charged with fraud offenses. And to your question about the state participation, we have last year, I believe there were 13 states that participated with us in our takedown. And this year, we are in the high 40s. Of those who have come to the table to add their resources to come work with us, because this truly is a national problem that demands a national response, and that's really driven by the White House fraud task force, which is bringing everybody together to say, hey, if we don't solve it, no one will, and folks are coming to the table to ensure that we do this work against the fraudsters better than we've ever done it before.
In the case involving the basketball player who died, and I know, Dr. Oz, you were highlighting that, was that resolved and solved through sort of old-fashioned law enforcement work, or were there techniques and tools that the Justice Department or other agencies employed that resulted in that $89 million fraud being detected?
There was boots on the ground. Individuals went, they got the records, they could tell how many seconds transpired between when the actual EKG was sent to the doctor in question and when the readout was delivered, so saying that it was normal. And again, I'll speak as a heart physician. There's no way you could miss this diagnosis. This child's heart on autopsy was massive. And if it's 2.5 times bigger than your fist, it looks like that. And then the child had echocardiogram and EKG, also had Dopplers of his carotids and groins. And this doctor was practicing in multiple states, which is one of the things doctors do to hide their path. They can sneak around. And the mom is in Florida. And it's really tragic. And I just want to highlight this is a dead child is a dead child, red state, blue state, it doesn't matter. And that's why I think so many states are participating, because Medicaid is a program that is run by the states, and having them all on board, I think, is a reinforcing element to the White House Anti-Fraud Task Force.
Are you getting cooperation from the healthcare corporations in terms of detecting this fraud? What's your relationship with the healthcare corporations? Are these one-offs that are just individuals that are kind of, sneaking through the getting around the controls, or are the companies helping to detect this fraud?
That's a good question. Who's the best to answer that? You want Colin?
Yes, we have great working relationships with healthcare corporations who are required to be alert to instances of fraud across their programs, and we collaborate with them to make sure that we can illuminate fraudsters across the healthcare portfolio, and we encourage every healthcare corporation to come work with us to root out those who are seeking to defraud the American people by exploiting our healthcare programs.
Mr. Attorney General, will you take one off-topic question?
No. You got to take an off-topic.
Any other questions?
Sir?
All right. Thanks, everybody, for coming. We appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Did you hear that last question? Well, attempt at a last question. This dude is telling the acting attorney general, you got to take an off-topic question. I would have taken it just to figure out what the hell this guy was talking about, and then I would have embarrassed him and said, nope, just wanted to hear. Shut up. What was so important that you had to push? I need an off-topic question. I guess your story won't be about this fraud then. That's exactly what you're saying. You don't care. Your network, your newspaper, your television station, whatever, doesn't care about this. And so I wanted to make sure you guys heard that. And if you want to rewind while we're waiting for President Trump, you can hear it again. We got people taking skin off of people. We got people ignoring kids with double-sized hearts. We got people with 6 jets. We got people in Turkey taking billions of dollars. My gosh, how is that not just on every station? And that's why we need you. We need you to take this information and tell people, hey, have you heard about this? Did you know what happened in California? That they suspended 1,000 hospices and 800 of them are in California? My gosh, it's insane. SP, talk to me, man. What is going on?
I hate to tell you. Let me pat myself on the back. I'll do that too. I've been telling you all this. Come on. I mean, the fraud in California is going to be in the trillions of dollars. It's just, you see, it's 80%, right? I mean,
wow. And that's just this stuff. That's just the healthcare stuff.
Oh,
we don't.
Yeah.
I mean, it's insane.
We got all the homeless stuff, all those hundreds of millions of dollars that fake trains, railway. That the guy, I see Gavin. He's too stupid to avoid jail. Somehow, like he admits, I'm a retard. So he's going to jail one day. I'm going to put that one out there. So maybe I'll be wrong, but I think he's going to surely be in perp walk one day because there's no way he could be behind like somehow immune from all this fraud.
If it comes between he and his wife and her going to jail or him going to jail, Gavin, you're toast. Let's just say it right now. Your wife slept with Harvey Weinstein, okay? So she'll pretty much do anything. And so if the world knows that your wife jumped in the sack with Harvey Weinstein, bro, between you and her, you ain't got a chance. Nope, she's got to walk. She will do anything. Oh my gosh.
Gavin's going to need a lot of that hair gel in prison, man. Holy crap.
Can you imagine going out with somebody and finding out, yeah, I did the dirty with Harvey Weinstein. No, thank you. All the people in California, that's where you went to? Wow.
I can see why he crosses his legs when he sits like the way he does. I mean, it's very telling, right? It's a poker tell. When I look at this guy, I see a guy that's not very bright. Anyway, I did have that one story if we have time about the, I know there's a whole bunch I sent you. I think it was third from the bottom, the Elon Musk one about the USAID funding.
Hold on, let me see if I can pull it up. Third one from the bottom. Oh, you got Elon so many. Wait, you got some good ones here. So let me line them up here so I can get to them one at a time.
So this is the one earlier about an hour or so. The breaking Elon Musk exposes.
Man, there is so much. It's funny when I clicked on one of the buttons, I end up seeing something else, and I'm like, "That's a big story." And I
got them all.
Yeah, that's a big story. No, you still got another one there. So let me. Wow, good gosh. All right, I'm trying to open up different tabs so I can go to each one of them. So you're saying it was 3?
It literally is the.
Who's it? Is it from Gunther?
No, Eric Doherty. I can send it to you again.
No, you don't have to. I got them all. Okay, got it. All right, go ahead.
You got it. All right, so so basically, Elon Musk, if he had not gone in and doged the USAID, I'm sure he. So many lives would have been lost. So basically, he said people like Ro Khanna smear him for helping destroy USAID. Remember, he claimed, people are dying all around the world, all the poor peoples and everything. So even Rubio confirmed that USAID operated as a de facto independent entity that undermined the U.S. abroad. It operated almost as an independent State Department, and oftentimes USAID was operating in contravention and contradiction of what the embassy was trying to accomplish in the host country. And one of the complaints you would get from many developing countries is that they would get flooded with NGOs that were picked for them. These NGOs would then operate in the country without even coordinating with the government, doing whatever they wanted and pursuing what they wanted. In some cases, it extended well beyond food and medicine. It extended to political interference and all sorts of other activities in these countries that were undermining the national interest and the credibility of the United States. That's treason. So Elon Musk probably saved lives by gutting USID, the opposite of what they claim. So, because of what he did, look what's happening.
I got to stop you for a second here, because
Go ahead.
that dovetails specifically to what we were talking about yesterday with Colombia.
I was just going to add that.
They don't get any USAID money, and all these scummy NGOs couldn't go to work in Colombia. Wow.
And that's why a lot of the Republicans in these other countries are winning, and that's why the people, look at them out in the street. They're holding up flags. They got MAGA hats on. I mean, they're finally being liberated, and it's part of the Don Road doctrine. It's just the Western Hemisphere. It's all getting fixed, one communist country at a time.
All right, so let me go to the next one. This one here.
All right.
Oh no, that's your line. All right, so breaking massive Trump win. A U.S. appeals court has just allowed the Trump admin to expedite the removal of newcomers from our country. With 2-to-1 ruling affirms illegals anywhere in the U.S. can be removed without seeing an immigration judge if they'd been in the U.S. for less than 2 years before their arrest. This policy used only be in immediate vicinity of the border. Now it can be implemented nationwide. OMG.
Do you see down below the video, like the little picture of Biden on the bottom right? Come on, man! Come on, man!
Oh my God, that's huge. That is
huge.
Very huge. Wow.
Yes.
Wow. All right. So just let everybody know, I know that the rally was supposed to start at 2:00, but we are on Trump times. TT.
Yeah.
It's 2:36 now, and everybody's standing around. Here, let me show you here. Right there. Everybody's standing around. Nothing going on yet. Just waiting for President Trump to come out. So as soon as he comes out, we will jump to it. But that's a huge story. That's got to be freaking people out at this point. Wow.
Right.
That's very big.
By the way, Trump is getting a tour right now. That's what's taking long. He's touring the Mac facility. I saw a short video.
Okay.
So
they have a video of that? I haven't seen a video of that.
It was like 10 seconds long. But that was the update. So I'm sure he'll be live shortly. The Gunther story. Could we cover that one? That one to me, I can't believe this is happening in an elementary school. This to me is, you got to take your kids out of school.
Before we go there, this one just popped up. I don't even know if you've seen it. It's pretty.
Another one.
It says Anna Paulina Luna announces she and other Republicans will shut down the House floor and vote no on every single bill unless the Save America Act is pushed. Time is running out for secure national elections. So I hope it's just not theater. I hope it's just not the theater kids out there trying to do things. And I don't know why John, but that is absolutely crazy. So the Gunther story you're saying is next.
Yeah, there's only one Gunther link down there.
Yeah, let me get it. You're trying to get me in trouble, man.
I'm gonna be careful. No. This was the other one. This is not the school one, but this one's good too. So basically, liberals were outraged. We wanted to cut waste, yet they happily wanted to spend over 32,000 of your taxpayer dollars on a Transformer comic book in Peru. I remember that from like last year. So they were just showing the comic book, but that was a story.
Are you talking about the grade school that sing the song about being shot by cops? I don't think I have that. Let me see.
I did send that to you. Hold on.
Gunther. Oh, okay, here it is. Yeah, I got it right now. This is absolutely sick. I mean, it's sick. Go ahead.
All right, so New York Elementary.
Well, I don't know if I should show the video because they're kids.
I don't know if it has music, Barry, so you probably can't put that on. I don't want you to get demonetized. New York City elementary school goes full woke insanity. I can't believe the story. Upper West Side fifth graders put on a performance where kids mimed getting shot by police, complete with Ferguson and Obama DOJ references. The same school does Palestinian folk dance critics linked to terror ties, Rainbow Room for LGBTQ indoctrination, no parental consent needed, all gender bathrooms where boys harass girls, buttons announcing fourth graders are by you know what. Parents are furious. Schools say they're investigating. This isn't education. It's child abuse and anti-cop, anti-American grooming. Parents, get your kids out. Demand school choice now. Enough is enough. I didn't think any of this was going on, but I mean,
and this is
talk about it's
New York City. Of course,
yeah.
it's New York City.
Yeah, it's Madami's world. But I mean, if it's happening here, it's happening in all other blue states and blue cities, I'm sure.
Wow. I mean, that's absolutely just sick and wrong. I mean, that they would do this stuff.
Totally insane.
Now, did you hear about, I guess you heard about the other ruling that was negative towards Trump. Did you hear about the Sparky chick?
Yes.
All right, so let me bring people up to speed on Sparky here.
With the 2026 midterms just over 4 months away, a federal judge today has blocked the Trump administration from using American Social Security information to find foreigners on U.S. voter rolls. The judge writing in her ruling that by overhauling the country's citizenship data program, the federal government has, quote, knowingly trampled on the privacy rights of American citizens in a manner that threatens the sacred right to vote, adding the court cannot stand idly by while this happens.
Okay, so she's saying that we can't go through the voter rolls, which I understand and now realize what they're talking about is the data. Again, using probably AI to go through this data very quickly in all 50 states and find, the people aren't supposed to be here. Here was the ruling. Says Judge Sparkle, by the way, this is a lower court judge, has struck down the Trump administration expanded Save Voter verification program. The judge doesn't want the Trump administration finding out who these people are that are voting, ruling that federal agencies unlawfully created a centralized database. Now you're starting to see they're fighting back because of the data. And they don't have any defense other than to have a judge try to stop it. By the way, I'm pretty sure they've already done it. You see, by the time she's making a ruling, there's no telling how Elon may have done it when he was there with Doge. She has no idea. But she's saying you can't use it in citizenship data to facilitate mass voter verification. This was her in her confirmation hearing, which should have never happened.
It's not at all what I said. You
didn't resign from Jones Day?
Senator, I did not resign from Jones Day because of any particular representation.
So it wasn't a moral, you had no moral quandaries?
Absolutely not, Senator.
You had no moral quandaries with any of the cases at Jones Day? That's your testimony?
Senator, I left the firm in January of 2021 because I was offered an opportunity to return to public service. It's an opportunity the firm supported and that I took.
You had no quandaries with them representing in the Trump litigation. You had no problem with that. That's your testimony.
Senator, I did not leave my firm because of that representation.
You had no moral problem with it.
Senator, I left the firm months later because I received an opportunity to return to public service.
You had no problem with that, and you had no problem representing the bondholders. So your testimony is you're happy to represent anybody who comes your way. Donald Trump, you bet. The bondholders, you bet. Hedge funds, you bet. Whoever. That's your testimony? I just want to make sure I got it right.
Senator, throughout my career, I have adhered to the code of ethics that all lawyers are bound by.
Well, sure, but the code of ethics allow you to make money from anybody. Listen, you can choose your clients. I'm not accusing you of any ethical violations at all. I'm not. I'm just trying to figure out why you thought it was important to have these hedge funds as your clients and if you had any moral quandaries. And your testimony is you didn't have any moral quandaries, which is fine, but I just wonder if that's the best judgment.
Senator, throughout my career, I have represented corporate clients. I have represented criminal defendants. I have represented the government. Throughout my career, I am proud that I have
Want to say anything to the people of Puerto Rico while we're here?
Please let her finish the answer. Your time has expired. Go ahead.
Thank you, Chair Durbin. Throughout my career, I have represented many different clients. I am proud that in every representation, I have made the best possible arguments for all of my clients.
She just decided she's going to tell the Trump administration what they can and can't do. A district judge who just got into her position in 2024 is now running the country, just like Judge Bo Asperger. They do this crazy stuff. They know it's going to get overturned on appeal. They know she's going to get slapped down. They just like putting these speed bumps in place, and they're going to keep doing it. Oh, by the way, did I mention she's not from here? That's a big thing. She's from Trinidad and Tobago. She's not even from America. I don't understand how these Republicans allowed her to even be confirmed. All the games you see the Democrats are playing, you allowed this woman who's not even from the country to now be telling us how the country should be run. I just can't. All right, so President Trump is still not out. Before I go back to SV, let me go ahead and do, I got an announcement. Let me go ahead and do some information from Brightcore. Microplastics are infiltrating every part of our lives. Scientists estimate we now consume a credit card worth of plastic every single week through our food, the water, and even in the air we breathe. One study found plastic particles in 100% of human lung samples. 100%. Nobody is safe from exposure. It gets worse. These plastics don't just sit in your body. They cross the gut lining. They leach into your blood, and they disrupt everything. They've been shown to alter gut bacteria, suppress your immune response, and increase your risk for neurodegenerative disease, metabolic disorders, and cancer. Some plastic toxins like BPA and phthalates mimic hormones and interfere with your fertility and can even damage your DNA. Even if you eat clean or avoid packaged foods, you're still going to be exposed. You can't opt out, but your gut can help you fight back with Kimchi 1 from Brightcore. And I want to let you guys know that this here is from about the BPA. It's a potent ally in a toxic world, and Kimchi will help you very much in terms of stopping all these things that these microplastics are doing. Kimchi 1, as you know, is packed with over 900 probiotic strains unique to kimchi and proven to break down BPA. That's that bad stuff the study was talking about, helping you detox from the inside out. It doesn't just support digestion, it helps protect your cells, your brain, your hormones, and your future. Your body was never designed to handle plastic, but your gut was designed to protect you. You just have to give it the right tools. And one of those right tools that you can all get, and many people have tried here, is Kimchi 1 from Brightcore. You can get 25% off with the code BARRY by clicking the link in the description below, or for an even better deal, call my friends at Brightcore for up to 50% off your order and get free shipping. Give them a call now at 888-418-6738.
Back to Fanfare with Barry Cunningham.
Woo, 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 woo. Happy birthday, Clarence Thomas. 78 today. Oh, Mike.
I did not know that. But SV, we're going to have a little short period here because as I just got through that break, guess he's taking the stage. All right, so let's cut to him. It'll be some music, but what the hell?
Pennsylvania, I won this place so much. We won. Well, I'm thrilled to be back in this incredible Commonwealth with the proud, hard-working patriots of Lehigh Valley. And I'm also proud to say I won this state in a landslide. We won it by so much. And remember, I had the couple of little statements, too big to rig, make it too big to rig, because these people cheat like hell. They cheat like hell, but we won it by a lot, and maybe we should run again. Should we run one more time? I'd like to do that. But I got more votes than any candidate in the history of Pennsylvania. Can you believe that, Bo? You would have gotten more. And today I'm especially honored to be here in the place that builds some of the toughest vehicles on the road, Mack Trucks. Mack Trucks is doing a great job. We have all of the Mack people, the chairman. We have a whole group of here, all the leaders, the big guys. They're trying to get a contract for 15,000 trucks. 15,000. I said, that's a lot. I said, how many are you looking for? 10, 15? No, 15,000, sir. That's a lot of trucks. For more than 100 years, this legendary company has been making trucks right here in eastern Pennsylvania, building the heavy-duty machinery that keeps our economy rolling, our factories moving, and our industries roaring all across the nation. And you are the men and women who put your pride and spirit into those beautiful words, stamped on every Mack truck that said, made in the USA. It's made in the USA. And I want to especially thank the president of Mack Trucks, Stephen Roy, who I just met, who's a great guy, a great patriot, very Republican too, which I like. He's a very strong Republican. Stephen, where are you, Stephen? Stephen. We got to get a certain very talented congressman reelected. You know that. We got to get him. Where are you? Where are you, Mr. Congressman? We got to get you back in. Thank you, and thank you, Stephen. But a very special thanks to every single worker at this fantastic factory. The job you're doing here is incredible. And I know you're applying for a big one, and we'll see how that goes. We'll have to call up some people and see if it's good. If your price is right. Is your price right, Stephen? I don't know. Maybe we'll get it down a little bit. We'll get it down. 15,000 trucks. That's a lot of trucks. But that's what this is all about. It's greatness. You built this country, and you're the ones who are making America great again. We're the hottest country in the world. For decades, the workers of this Commonwealth watched globalist politicians let other countries rip you off and close your factories, rob your jobs, take them away to foreign lands. And then I came along. We stopped it very quickly. Then we had a rigged election. But they were so stupid, they kept everything going a little bit for us. And what we've done in the last year and a half, nobody's ever seen anything like it. They put America first, they put China first, they put illegal aliens first and everybody else first, but you. But we put you first by a lot. But at long last, you finally have a president who is putting workers first, putting Pennsylvania first, and putting America first. We're doing that, and we're doing it like nobody's ever seen before. And starting on my first day back in office, and this goes all the way back to 2016, too, but right from a year and a half ago, nobody's ever seen anything like this. We're the hottest country anywhere in the world by a lot. But I stood up to the trade cheaters. They're cheaters and abusers and violators of the world like no president has ever stood up before. And now I'm standing up again because Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon, if that's okay. And we're doing quite well. I placed 50% tariffs on foreign copper, aluminum, and steel so they couldn't come in and steal your jobs. And sometimes even more than 100% tariffs. They weren't going to come in from foreign lands and steal your jobs. If they wanted to come in, they pay 100%. they pay 200%, they pay I don't care what it is. They're not going to steal your jobs, okay? And they stop. And right now we have more factories being built, and I mean car factories, AI factories, factories of every type, than we've ever had in the history of our country by 3 times. That's because they didn't want to pay the tariff. How don't you pay a tariff? You build your factory here and you hire American workers. It's quite simple, actually. But as you know, I placed a 25% tariff on foreign automobiles, and very importantly, I posed a 25% tariff on medium and heavy-duty trucks so that Mack Truck could do very well with its factory in Pennsylvania. But all American roads will be filled with American trucks very shortly. Very few people are able to compete with us anymore. They used to rip us off. It was like we were a bunch of babies. American labor worked with us, too. I just met the head of your unions, and they've been terrific. They work with us, and they're fair. They treated us good. Maybe we could negotiate a little bit tougher. Where the hell are the union guys? Those guys are great. They're great. There they are. I want to just say hello. We gotta make sure you vote for our congressman here. I'm not doing this for my help. Right? Muser. We even have Muser here. That's right. Within a single year of taking office, I slashed trade deficit with China by the largest amount in the history of trade. And we, by the way, have the biggest trade deficit cut in the history of our country, 67%. Think of this. We had a trade deficit. We cut our trade deficit. If you're a president and you cut it by 1%, they say, oh, you're doing a great job. 2%, you're a genius. I cut it by 67%. That's why you have all of these factories being built. And they'll soon be opening. They're already opening. But when those factories are opening, I don't know what you're going to do. You're going to negotiate very good salaries, that I can tell you, because they need you. In many ways, they need you more than you need them. American exports to the rest of the world are up by $150 billion. You hear that, Bo? It's not bad. You got to wrestle a long way to make that. Bo is going to have to win a lot of tournaments to have to make that money. Think of it, $150 billion up. We never had that. We always have losses. We take in much more than we send out. Now we're up $150 billion, and that's nothing, because when all these factories are opening up, Mr. Senator, another great one, what a great senator you have. Did you fight hard? David, did you fight hard? He was with me at, I think, every stop. I said, where the hell is David? He's right there, sir. And he's working hard, and he's a great guy, and he's working very hard for you. But a short time ago, we were a dead country. We were laughed at all over the world. We were a dead country. People were laughing. They were saying, what the hell happened to that country? The king of Saudi Arabia said it 2 years ago. I was over there. He said, you know, sir, 2 years ago you were a dead country, and now you're the hottest country anywhere in the world. It's true. And we're hotter now than we were then. He then proceeded to announce that he's investing $2 trillion in our country, along with Qatar, along with UAE. Bahrain is investing, Kuwait's investing, but countries from all over the world, they're all investing in the United States. 2 years ago, they wouldn't even think of it. They thought we were finished. When I went to China 2 weeks ago, I met with President Xi, and we greeted each other, and he looked at me and he said, man, do you move fast. Because they thought they had us, but now it's really the opposite. We are doing numbers that nobody's ever seen before, so it's great. It's great. We had a great meeting. But as you know, we just achieved a historic peace agreement with Iran to end the conflict in the Strait of Hormuz. And by the way, yesterday, 19 million barrels of oil flowed out of the Strait of Hormuz, a very beautiful place. That's the most oil in the history of the Strait. No, it's never been any, you've never seen anything like that. It's called an oil gusher, and most importantly, we are ensuring one thing very importantly, because this is why I did it. I did it for this reason, 99% for this. Iran will never have a nuclear weapon, and they've agreed to that. But remember, this wasn't easy. We had 47 years worth of presidents and other people, other countries too. We're not the only one that never did anything. They were the bully of the Middle East. And now we're leaving Iran with no Navy, no Air Force, no anti-aircraft, no missile capability, no nuclear program. We're leaving them without any nuclear capacity, and they've agreed to that. And we're getting along quite well, although if you read the fake news, you never know. Think of it. The fake news, they have no army, they have no navy, they have no air force, they have no anti-aircraft. We can fly over Tehran just at will. Nobody going to do anything to us. And then I read the fake news that they're doing quite well. They're not doing quite well. These people right there, look at all of them. Whoa. 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 That's a lot of press. That's almost as much press as Bo had at the White House last week when he knocked out his opponent in the first round. Right? I think you had more. Bo had more press. But the Iran economy has been crushed, and their defense industrial base has been damaged so severely that it'll take them many years to rebuild, many, many years. And now we're trying to work out a deal that's fair. And we also want to work out a deal. You know, the stock market hit a new high today again. And oil, for the first time in months, hit, think of it, $70 a barrel. So we got at 70. That equates to a very low price. Oil is going to come charging down. And with oil comes everything else. Because I inherited from these Democrats. You know, they're Democrats. I changed the E for a U. It's very simple, Democrats. I don't know why I didn't think of that 9 years ago. I just thought of it about a month ago. They're Democrats because their policies are so dumb. Men and women's sports. You know, Bo is with one of the great champions, Tony. Tony, could you have taken most women in the heavyweight championship? He was the heavyweight champion of the world. Do you think you would have had trouble with a woman of approximately your size? Be hard to find a woman of your size, but if we did, I think you would have been okay. What do you think, Bo? Could he have handled it? I think so. What about you, Bo? Could you handle a woman of approximately your, 182 or something? Think there's a 182-pounder that could give you a little tussle? I don't think so. I don't think so. He's such a nice guy. You say, no, not really. I don't think so. When she looked at those ears of Bo, when she looked at those ears, she'll say, I'll take a pass. She'll say, I'm not going to fight that guy. The average price of gasoline nationwide is down 60 cents a gallon just from a short while ago. And remember this. We had to make this detour. We had to go to Iran. You can't let them blow up the Middle East and then us, if that's possible. We would have gotten them before, but they would have blown up Israel. They would have blown up the entire Middle East. You can't let that. You want to see a bad economy? That's a bad economy. So, but remember that our oil in the middle of this conflict was less than it was for sleepy Joe Biden. And we're putting out a fire. Biden, Clinton, Bush, all of them. Barack Hussein Obama. Have you heard of him? Have you heard of Barack Hussein Obama? None of them did anything. Obama gave them $1.7 billion in green cash. Remember, on a 747, they flew over piles of cash, $1.7 billion. Gave them hundreds of billions of dollars and thought they could bribe them into peace. No, the only thing they understand is what these guys in the front row understand is the hammer. Because if you look at what we did to their nuclear capacity with those beautiful B-2 bombers, that was truly a hammer. In fact, we named it a hammer, Operation Hammer. But our economy is ready to soar to levels the world has not seen before. I believe that, David. I think it's going to levels that nobody's ever seen before. All these factories are being built, and they're going to be occupied, and they're hiring people now. And it's going to be something very beautiful. I don't know who's going to follow me, but remember that I was the one that did it, okay? Somebody's going to walk into office, and they're going to have the most successful country in history, and they're going to be bragging what a great job they did. Now, we did it. In 4 long years of the crooked Joe Biden administration, they got less than $1 trillion of new investments. So think of it, Crooked Joe. What do you like better, Sleepy Joe or Crooked Joe? Ready? Sleepy Joe. Crooked Joe. I'm surprised. I like Sleepy Joe better, but Crooked Joe. They're both good. I use them both. But in less than 1 year, so they did much less than $1 trillion of investment from outside the world. Much less than 1 trillion. We just have the final. We had 11 months at 18, but we just got the final. $19.1 trillion in 12 months. Can you believe it? Investment from all over the globe. And since the election, the stock market has set 73 all-time records. In other words, yeah, sit down. We've got plenty of time here. It's an honor that you're all standing. Oh, look who we have, the Wall. Stand up, Wall. Look at this guy. Oh, I'm going to get a suit just like that guy. I'll bet he's been to 200 rallies. Him and, where are my guys? Oh, look at my guys, front row Joes. I got these front row Joes. And where are the women from North Carolina? They're here. They travel all over the world. I don't know what the hell's with their husbands. These beautiful women from North Carolina. They travel all over. They went to 200 rallies. How many rallies have front row Joes gone to? Hundreds. Everyone. And then it was very sad. My last rally, I said, I may never see you again, right? And then we won the election in a landslide. And who the hell do I see? I see my front row Joes. So I'm happy about that. Thank you. What a group. We had some group. We'd be all over the place. And when they didn't make the front row, it was very demeaning to them. They were not happy, right? But the front row, they became actually very famous, front row Joes. And the typical 401k, as you know, is up almost $30,000 in, it was 12 months, it was 13 months. It's up 44%. Think of that, up 44%. Because, you know, as goes the stock market, so goes a lot of your own wealth. And I tell about this police officer. I met a police officer first time, similar thing, but now the numbers are even more. I was in New York. I met a great police officer, New York finest. And he said, sir, I want to thank you. I said, for what? He said, my wife didn't think much of me, very much. We were having marital difficulty, actually. She thought I was nothing. I'm a police officer. I'm a tough guy. I looked at him. The muscles were all over the place. He didn't suffer from that. But she thought maybe that muscle wasn't so good because he was always losing money in the stock market. And he said, sir, in the last year and a half, my 401k is up 74%, sir. And she thinks I'm Warren Buffett. She thinks I'm a super genius. I said, how are you getting along with her? He said, well, I'm not so sure I like her anymore, but I won't tell you that. I refuse to say that. He's getting along just fine. But a lot of people have come up to me, David, and they thanked us. 401ks, you know, the stock market. Who has a 401k here? Yeah, look, a lot of people. More Americans are working today than at any time in the history of our country, and we've created over 32, now, think of this, 32,000 new jobs just starting in Pennsylvania alone. David, you have to get credit for that. And in the last few months alone, we've added 2,600 Pennsylvania manufacturing jobs, and that number is going to go much, much higher as the factories start to open. Because right here in Lehigh Valley, Eli Lilly has just announced, great company, by the way, drug company, a $3.5 billion investment in a brand new state-of-the-art manufacturing facility right down the road. That's going to create over 1,000 jobs, just that one. Nokia is investing $30 million to expand its semiconductor testing and packaging operations, thousands of jobs. And B. Braun has announced a $20 million expansion of its medical device manufacturing operation in Allentown. I love Allentown. I love any place that votes for me, which is the entire state of Pennsylvania, the entire Commonwealth. Never make the mistake of using the word state. Well, I'm not sure that people care, but the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania voted for us at levels that nobody's ever seen before, David, and you too. And we're proud of you because you had guts. This man had guts. He lost one time to a tough candidate. Then he did it again to a tougher candidate. And I tell him, if he didn't win, his wife, who's a beautiful woman, would have left him. I'm telling you. Dina, she would have left him. So he had great courage doing it a second time. He was a very successful guy. He ran. Stand up, David. She would have left. I was so worried because he's a friend of mine, and that was a tough race. You know, he was running against a guy 24 years, and his father was in for like 30 years. That's a long time, and he had to beat him knowing the pressure. That's called pressure, knowing his wife was gone if he didn't make it. She was gone to 100%. But he's married actually to a terrific woman. She probably would have stayed. I'm not 100% sure. And last year, I saved a great American company, U.S. Steel, and we're keeping its headquarters in Pennsylvania where it belongs. And $17 billion has been invested by a great company in saving U.S. Steel. They were gone. I think they were closed up and they were ready to go. And now they're building factories like nobody's ever seen. They're expanding the operations and building a couple of brand new steel plants. They're up to over $17 billion, which is a lot more than they even told us, because they've fallen in love with this Commonwealth. They've fallen in love with your whole area, the people. I think they've fallen in love with the people more than anything else is what they told me, because they've done more than they said they would. And thanks to our great Republican majorities in Congress, last 4th of July, I proudly signed the largest tax cuts in American history. We gave you the biggest tax cuts in American history. Not bad. Not bad. We delivered no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, and no tax on Social Security for our great Pennsylvania seniors. No tax. And our tax cuts are projected to boost take-home pay for Pennsylvanians by an average of more than $10,000 a year per household. Think of it. Not bad. That alone should win us the midterms. We got to win the Muser. We got to win the midterms. Muser's another great guy. Stand up, Muser. Been with me forever. He was thinking about running for governor. I think he would have won, but he was thinking about running for governor. And I said, I want you to stay in Congress. I want you to stay. And we appreciate it. You've done a great job. But always remember, every single Democrat in Congress voted against our tax cuts. So think of it. All of those tax cuts and many more, they want to raise your taxes, not lower them. They voted against tax cuts. You know, all my life, I sort of been political in that I found it very interesting. I was a very successful real estate person, but I love watching politics. And my whole life, I've watched politicians saying, we will cut your taxes. We will cut. I never heard these people say, we will raise your taxes. This country has gotten very strange politically, especially with all the communists that are up for election. You know, you have communists. These aren't socialists. These are communists. And they're all up. How about the guy in Maine? He's got the Nazi stickers. He's got the whole deal. And they're trying to say so for 8 years, 10 years, they said Trump is a Nazi. Now they can't say that anymore because they have a guy with a tattoo on his chest. It's unbelievable. But they voted against no tax on Social Security. They voted against no tax on tips. They voted against no tax on overtime. And if they got into office, you will have all of those taxes and all of that money that you're saving, including the big savings on Social Security. It's going to all be terminated. You're going to have to start paying it. They want to pay it. I don't know what's wrong with these people. They voted in favor of the estate tax or the death tax on your farms and your businesses. You know, farmers and small business people, they love their children. If they love them, it's great. Most of the people love them. Some can't stand. I know people that can't stand their kids. They're not going to leave them 10 cents. But if you love your child, you want to leave your farm, especially from these farmers, it's born in them somehow. They want to have their children on the farm. The children don't want to leave, but sometimes they're land rich and cash poor. You know, I've known that expression too. I've oftentimes been land rich and cash poor. It's not a good period of time. and you die and you have a estate, and they tax you at 40, 50, 60%, and they end up losing their farm, losing their small business, and in many cases, you don't read about this, they commit suicide. They actually go out and commit suicide because they're forced off their farm by a bank. They have to go out and borrow money from a bank, and they're forced to go out, borrow the money. They're unable to pay the loan, and the bank, even if it's a nice bank, they give them a chance, they give them another chance, and then they ultimately foreclose, they lose everything, and in many cases, they commit suicide. And I said, we're not going to have that crap go on. So you have no estate tax to pay on your small farm, small business, on your farms, your businesses. And you can, if you love your children, you can leave your farm or your small business to your child, and they're not going to lose it. If you don't love your children, then don't listen to what I'm saying, because it doesn't matter. If you don't like them, don't leave them anything. The hell with them. They probably deserve it. But think of it, the Democrats voted against the border wall. The border wall gave us the safest border. We have the safest border now in the history of the country. They voted against voter ID. You know why they voted against voter ID? Because they want to cheat. There's only one reason, Mr. Wall, right? Correct. Where do I get that suit? One day, I don't know if it's very presidential, I'm going to walk up in a suit with the design of the wall on it. I don't know. What do you think? I already have a lot. You know, I have a very elegant wife, and she says, darling, please, please, don't dance. It's not presidential. I said, but the people love it when I dance at the... And she said, please, please, the men and women's sports, please don't do the weightlifting thing. And don't do the swimming thing. You know, the weightlifter where he goes up, and the record stood for years and years, years. And this young lady, she's trying out for the Olympics, and she's going to do it. And the record stood for 19 years, and they put 1/8 of an ounce on one side, 1/8 of an ounce on the other. They have to understand, Melania, who's now a movie star, she got the #1, but can you believe she hit big with a boom? That's not good. There can only be one star in a family, please remember that. But they put a little 1/8, like a feather on one side, a little bit, just to break the record. The parents are sitting right there where Big Bo is. He's a nasty guy, that punch he threw. Got to be very nice to Bo. I got to be very nice. Got to make sure he's never angry at me. But she said her parents are right there in the front, and they're so proud. The father's not so proud because he knows she's not going to do it, because she's a woman. It's a lot of weight. The mother, though, is screaming, darling, I love you. Do it. And she gets over the weights, and she stands there. And then she gets him, and she gets him. And the mother's screaming, darling, I love you, darling. And the father's looking, saying she has no chance. And she's like this, you see it? Drops him. And she's like devastated for the rest of her life. And then a guy comes along who transitioned. That's the term. I've gotten very good at that term. I used to take a lot of heat for my definition of the movement over. But he transitioned. He was a poor, very poor, bottom of the line, male weightlifter. But now he's a female weightlifter. And he looked at the amount. I think it was like 210 pounds or something like that. Well, that's a lot for a woman, but not that much for a man. You could do it with one hand. And he goes, looks down at the weight. I think he did a few things for emphasis. And he won the medal. And everyone said, oh, isn't that wonderful? Are we crazy? Men should not be able to participate in women's sports. Right? That's a 99% issue. Do you ever hear the fake news? They say, that's an 80-20 issue. No, it's not. It's 99-1. You know, I've been doing politics now for 10 years. Not that long, considering I've won 3 elections. You know, so we're done. But we did great in the second one. It was a rigged deal. But pretty short. But with all of that, and all of the time I spent speaking to people, they say, sir, could you cut taxes on this? Could you get me a tax deduction on a car loan? I did that. By the way, I did that. If you borrow money to buy a car, you got to do all these things. They ask me for hundreds of things. Not once did anyone ever come up to me and say, sir, please, this is so vital. You have to be able to have men play in women's sports. Please, sir, could you pull that off? I've never had anyone ask me for that. So I say it's a 99-1 issue, not 80-20. The fake news back there, they say, oh, that's a tight issue. But I don't like talking about it because I want them to continue on with that. I want them to continue on with the, they're in favor of the mutilization of your child for transgender purposes, the mutilization of your child. And I would say politically, it's a very good thing to run against a person that's in favor of that kind of stuff. So we let them, we don't bring it up during off-political seasons, but we have a political season coming up. And they'll be doing all of that nonsense, and they're going to lose a lot of elections. And now, if you look at New York, we have all communists running. They're all excited. They're going to win their primaries, but I can't imagine they can beat a normal Republican. So I think it's a good thing, Muser. What do you think? I think it's a good thing. Wouldn't you like to run against somebody like that? Well, Shapiro's not that much better, to be honest with you, but I won't say. They're all being forced. They're all being forced. A guy like Shapiro, he's going to be forced to the left. Otherwise, he's not going to get the nomination. But they voted against proof of citizenship. Think of it. We'd like to have proof of citizenship. You walk into the voting booth. Would it be okay, sir, if I looked at your citizenship? How dare you ask me for my citizenship? In California, if you ask that question to a voter, you are criminally liable. In other words, they can put you in jail. If you say, sir, do you have proof of citizenship? They put you in jail if they ask that question. You're not allowed to ask that. Did you know that? It's the craziest thing I've ever seen going on. Hey, did they screw the kid, Pratt? Boy, he's leading, and all of a sudden he's lost. And it was sort of interesting. The election, you ever see an election where they're 2.5 weeks in? An election that takes weeks to count the votes? But after the evening, it looked like he was going to win or certainly be in the runoff. And then I started hearing rumors as the days went by, days and days went by, that Pratt is fading. He's fading. I said, they rigged the election. And then lo and behold, he didn't qualify, even though he was so far up in the third place person that it was almost impossible, and he didn't qualify. And then it started happening with the next candidate, Steve Hilton, who's running for governor. He was up in front, just about leading, no problem. And all of a sudden, about 4 or 5 days after, this is after the election's over, they said, Steve Hilton is starting to lose votes. I said, here we go again. And I called up the U.S. Attorney in California. They said, we're going to have a number in the next week. Next week. I called up the very powerful, very good U.S. Attorney in California, and I said, do me a favor. Take a look. They're trying to steal that election, too. I guess they called up. They said, this is the U.S. Attorney call. We have your great U.S. Attorney here today, by the way, and your assistant U.S. Attorney. They're doing great. David, thank you. But so over the next week, he was definitely going to lose, but the U.S. Attorney called. We want to check your votes. About an hour after the call, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Hilton has won. So had I not made that call, Steve Hilton would right now be watching the election from home. So I don't know, he would have a great chance, but the election's totally rigged. California's totally rigged, all mail-in ballots. It's a disgrace. We got to pass the Save America Act, okay? Got to pass. We got to pass Save America, you, McGee. Look at these guys. What love. A friend of mine is a very big real estate developer, but he's got a problem with speaking in front of crowds. He chokes, he chokes like a dog. He said, how do you do it? I say, it's easy because there's so much love in the room. There's so much unbelievable love. It's easy to do, No, he's got this tremendous fear of speaking. He said, the guy's a major player. Most of you have heard of him. And he's a killer. He destroys people for a living. Financially, not physically, financially. Physically, he can barely walk. He's a basket case. But he's up here. He's very smart. And he destroys people. He's very rich. But he can't get up in front of a crowd and talk. I said, what's wrong with you? He said, I don't know. I have a fear of crowds. Do you believe it? All sorts of people. A lot of people want to do what I did. A lot of people, well, David did it. David was very successful, but he's a great speaker. But a lot of people, They say, well, Trump became president. From being a very successful businessman, he became president. I want to do it too. And that's when they find out that they might have the flaw of speaking, or even worse, is a terrible past. You know, the past will come out to haunt you. It's not an easy thing to do, but I love it. You know, I say it's real easy to do when you have people that love you. I guarantee, who here voted for Trump? Yeah. Who didn't? Well, this is dangerous, so don't raise your hand. Think you're going to be cute, because you might be in big problem. Then they'll blame me for causing problems. Who did not vote for Trump? Young man, he wants to be. He's a young man. He thinks he's being cute. As he gets pounded on. Now he just said, no, I did. I was the first. He said, I'm the first in line. But the Democrats voted in favor of Iran having a nuclear weapon, and they voted against military spending, but I overrode that. Let me tell you, if the Democrats get in, your 15,000 trucks that Mr. Roy is looking to get are dead. They're not going to have 15,000. They're not going to have 15 trucks. They'll be back to the number I originally guessed, right? How many are you making, 15? 15,000 trucks will be down to nothing, zero. And they'll make you put electric on it, you know, electric, so that when you're in the middle of a jungle someplace and you need a charge, where's my charging booth? As opposed to carrying a nice tank of diesel on your back, throwing it in and taking off, right? Where's my charging booth, they'll be saying. They created we created the strongest military in history, and you see that with Venezuela, one-day operation, like, great. Good army. And now we're making a lot of money with Venezuela, and Venezuela is doing great also. It's a happy country now. But it took us exactly 48 minutes to win that war. We have the greatest military in the world, 48 minutes. And we've paid for the cost of the war, wait till you hear this, 28 times already. More, but 28 times. So the cost of the war, we've already, because we brought millions of barrels of oil out, and we're getting along great. The people running it, they're our people, they're great people. And the people are happy in the country. They have smiles, they were miserable, they were starving. But they have a lot of oil under that ground. You know how you find oil in Venezuela? Just look at the ground. You'll see oil bubbling up. They have so much oil. They don't know what to do with it, but they had a bad system. They're making more money now for the country than they've ever made before, and we're making a lot of money too. But also Iran, we knocked them out. 1 week, it was essentially militarily over. Much bigger country, 91 million people, and much different ideology. The ideology of the Muslims is slightly different than the ideology of the Catholics. We have the Catholics and the Muslims, slightly different. But Venezuela's been great, and Iran's been great. I mean, you know, if Iran's reasonable, if they're smart, otherwise we'll have to finish the job, which will take about maybe less than a week. But they're going to be okay, I think. They're going to do what they have to do because we want to have it done. But they voted against lower energy prices, the Democrats did, and then they went on to create the highest energy prices that we've ever had in the history of our country. People don't realize that. Much higher than ours during a war. They had the highest inflation in history. The highest inflation in history, they say 48 years, but that's sort of history as far as I'm concerned. And they were absolutely terrible on affordability. Remember, I got here, my first day, the fake news is screaming at me, what about affordability? I'm only here 1 day. Remember, eggs were up about 5 times higher than they ever were. And we have prices are coming down right now at levels that you've never seen. And now with oil crashing, you're going to see something really amazing. And to top everything else, they let 25 million people into our country, many of them criminals and thugs and people from mental institutions and drug dealers. They even let 11,888 murderers into our country. Murderers, 11,888, more than 50% of which have killed more than one person. And I've gotten the worst of them out. We've gotten them out, Tom Homan and our whole group of people. But the Democrats want open borders, and they want them all to come back in. You can imagine that. The people of this Commonwealth will never let that happen again. What they allowed to happen to our country, we can never allow to happen again. As an example, the war with Russia and Ukraine would have never, ever started if I were president. We can never let elections get rigged again. But we're pleased to be joined today by one of those Pennsylvanians who's benefiting from the historic tax cuts, Sergeant Sam Elias, with the Bethlehem Police Department, who's a great guy. Ooh, they know him. Sam works the night patrol so that he can help his wife take care of their 6 beautiful children during the day. And I'm told their youngest is named Melania. Can you believe that? They named Melania. Where did you come up with that one? After our great First Lady. So Sam is taking home thousands of dollars extra because of no tax on overtime. And Sam, do you want to come up and say a few words? Come on up. Come on up, Sam.
Thank you for all you do. Thank you. Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. I'd like to express my appreciation to President Trump, Congressman Ryan McKenzie, and the entire White House administration. As a father of 6 children in a single-income household, I can tell you the Working Families Tax Cuts is a policy that helps my family. Hard work should pay off, not get punished with higher taxes. No tax on overtime, no tax on tips means more money in the pockets of working Americans. For my family, these savings have translated to what was once a day trip to the park, is now an overnight stay at the Jersey Shore. Bigger tax returns have allowed Americans to create new family memories and save for future projects. As the President said, I also work night shift as a police sergeant in the fine city of Bethlehem. Thank you. A shortage in police recruitment has left our department depleted of officers. Our officers get called out for overtime to cover these shortages. Some pay periods, officers are working over 40 hours of overtime. That's why I'm grateful for no tax on overtime. Thank you, Mr. President. I'm also thankful for the support President Trump and Congressman McKenzie have shown for law enforcement. You understand that communities thrive when we invest in public safety. Congressman McKenzie has stood strong with public safety and working families. And that's why he's been endorsed by the brothers and sisters of Bethlehem FOP Star Lodge 20. Congressman McKenzie has been on the front lines in supporting public safety. He secured $700,000 for the Bethlehem Police Department for much-needed technology and equipment upgrades at our police department, along with bringing home $1.6 million in funding for volunteer firehouses and infrastructure. Thank you, Congressman. I'm a very grateful American, a son to Lebanese immigrants who came to the United States 50 years ago in pursuit of the American dream. My 80-year-old father is here with me today. He would often tell me, work hard and it'll pay off. Well, 50 years later, thanks to President Trump and Congressman McKenzie, my father's dream has come true. I thank you for that. Thank you. Additionally, thank you to President Trump and your entire administration. After more than 50 years, the Lebanese people finally have an American ally who advocates for a sovereign and independent Lebanon governed by the Lebanese people. Thank you for that. Mr. President, you have the support of almost 20 million Lebanese people worldwide. Leadership is more than a title, it's action. I'm grateful for the actions coming from President Trump and Congressman Ryan McKenzie. Your actions have prioritized the American dream. Less taxes, safer communities, and America First policies. I thank you, President Trump. Happy belated birthday, and happy birthday to the United States of America. Thank you, and God bless. Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you very much. You know, I just looked at all these pages. I said, oh, we're in trouble. But you know what? That was good. That was a good job. I was a little worried when I saw the pages after page. Very good. Great job. Sam, where's your father? Hello, Pop. How are you? Got a good boy. Got a good boy. Yeah, taking care of your people. So our administration is also delivering one historic win after another for another group that works a lot of overtime, and that's our great auto workers. We have a lot of auto workers in here today. But just as I promised, the UAW workers, and we did great with them, you know, Republicans, I don't know, for whatever reason, they don't do like I do. But in the campaign, I ended Biden's insane electric vehicle mandate, that crazy mandate, which meant that in a short while, all cars had to be all electric, and many of them would be built in China and others in foreign countries all over the world. That's what was going to happen, and I stopped that. I ended it in my first week in office. I ran on it. And you know what? If you like electric cars, I think that's great. I wouldn't say Elon was thrilled with what I did, but he understood that. But if you like electric cars, I think it's great, but you have to have the right to buy a regular, I mean, we have more gasoline than any country anywhere in the world if you want to have gas. If you want to have a hybrid, you can have whatever the hell you want, including electric. But I terminated Biden's disastrous fuel emission standards that would have crushed Mack trucks. Mr. Roy, your company would be crushed if I didn't do that. You wouldn't be bidding on anything, neither would anybody else. It was the most insane environmental regulations ever conceived of by man. It was totally unreasonable and ridiculous. And you can sell trucks for much less money that are now much better trucks that work, that actually work. And we made interest on auto loans, fully tax deductible, but only if you buy a car that is made in the USA. Otherwise, we're not interested. Otherwise, we're not interested. And I saved the auto manufacturing business in America. We have more auto plants being built today than we've had in 60 years, that I think maybe ever. And bigger and better. They had a big one in a certain state that I love also. I love a lot of places. And they took out this old plant, but it was big. And I said, did you redo it yet? They said, we're not redoing it. We're ripping down and building a brand new one, a beauty. You know the one I'm talking about, David. But we're pleased to be joined today by Pat McHugh, a Marine Corps veteran, a great guy who spent 28 years with Mack Trucks. And he leads the cab assembly and serves as new product line launch leader. It's a big deal. And Pat's grandfather worked here, his dad worked here, and now his son is working here and doing well. And they know how important it is to keep manufacturing jobs in Pennsylvania. Pat, say a few words, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. Wow. Good afternoon, Mr. President. It is a profound honor and privilege to have you here with us today to help celebrate the upcoming 250th birthday of our America. And most recently, our 125th anniversary of building Mack trucks. My name is Patrick McHugh Jr., and I am a proud Marine Corps veteran. In addition to that, though, I am an even prouder Mack Truck employee. Standing here with me today is my father and my son, both Mack Truck workers. Together, they have a combined 78 years working experience building the greatest trucks on earth. You can say Mack Trucks runs in our blood. At Mack Trucks, we work hard to build the trucks that help build America. And we are proud that those trucks are built in the United States of America. Along with our UAW colleagues, we're open for business and we're producing the best quality trucks we ever have. On behalf of our entire team, we warmly welcome you to our plant, Mr. President, home of the finest trucks in America, built by the most skilled and dedicated workforce in the trucking industry. So, Mr. President, I want to say thank you for choosing to highlight Mack Trucks on your visit today, and thank you for supporting our American workforce. Thank you, Mr. President.
Well, thank you, Pat. That's a good family. That's a great family. Great people. They're proud of your company. I want to also thank two people, very special people, because I know them and I know what they do, and it's not easy, but they've done a great job. David Durgan and Timothy Herzog of the UAW committee. Where are you guys? Thank you. They do a good job representing you. Ease up just a little bit so they can get the contract, okay? Just a little bit. Thank you, fellas. Get this congressman elected. That's what you got to do. But we're pleased to be joined also by Labor Secretary Keith Sonderling. Keith, where are you, Keith? Where's Keith? Hi, Keith. Good job. Is he treating you guys good? Is he all right? He better treat you good. A very special guy, somebody that everybody wanted. I have to tell you, everybody wanted him. He's some person. He was actually an astronaut. He went out, he made a lot of money because he's smart. And he's now the NASA administrator. You saw that rocket 2 months ago up and go around the moon in record levels, the furthest any ship has ever flown, and come back. And he's working very heavily on the moon. But what he's done with NASA is amazing. And he's a very special person and a brilliant one, Jared Isaacman. Jared, thank you. Great job. As well as, I introduced him a little bit only by the name David, because he knows me and I know him by David. But David McCormick is your senator, and he's a brilliant person, brilliant businessman. And he loves the Commonwealth. He loves Pennsylvania, and this is where he wanted to be. And he had I told you, he had a rough fight. This is a rough beating, like 24 years, and a father for 24 years. I don't know. I said, I don't know. You sure you know what you're doing, David? But you won, and you won easily. And I'll tell you what, you have a great senator, one of the best in the country. So I just want to thank you very much, David. Thank you. And 4 warriors for Pennsylvania in Congress. These are warriors. Lloyd Smucker is here. Lloyd, thank you. Thank you.
John Joyce is here. John, thank you. Dan Muser is here. Thank you. And these guys are all in good shape, but we got to get Ryan McKenzie elected. We got to get Ryan. I'm not here for them. I'm here for him. We got to get Ryan elected. Run up here, Ryan, fast. Nobody wants to hear you. Come on, just run. Nobody wants to hear you, Ryan. Do what David did. He'd go up for 1 minute. Thank you very much, everybody. It's nice to be here. And everybody thought he was the greatest speaker. Okay. Say a few words.
Excellent. Well, Mr. President, I can't thank you enough for coming here to the Lehigh Valley, highlighting the great men and women of Mack Trucks, doing all the work that you do in Washington, D.C. for our veterans, our first responders, and everybody across this country to continue to maintain America as the greatest country in the world. You are the president that is fighting for all Americans. Thank you for being here, sir. Thank you, sir. Great job. Thank you for being
here. That's great. Wow, that's great. He learned something from you, David, huh? That's great. We also have one of the greatest writers anywhere in the country who knows more about the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, I think, than anybody. She's a terrific person. Right from the beginning, she said Trump is going to win, therefore I like her. She said Trump is going to win in 2015. In fact, she wrote an article in 2014. She said this guy Trump should run. I hadn't thought too much about it. I was having a lot of fun putting up buildings. But she was very early on, and I really mean, I don't think there's anybody that knows more about, they used to call it the Rust Belt. I call it the Money Belt now. It's gone from the Rust Belt to the Money Belt. Either one is okay, but there's nobody that knows more about it than Selena Zito. She's fantastic. Where are you, Selena? Where are you, Selena, with your beautiful daughter? Thank you, Selena. Selena's an incredible woman, and her daughter is following in her footsteps. She's just been so good. Very powerful writer, actually. Some of the biggest papers in the world. It's nice to have good stories on occasion, truthful stories. Thanks as well to the president of the NRA who's here with me, Bill Bockenberg. Bill, stand up. And they always give me their endorsement because I saved the Second Amendment, and you think it's easy. On occasion, it was not easy, right, Bill? But we did it. We did it with your help. And we're doing a couple of other things, working with you and your people. But I think you've done a fantastic job. The NRA, everybody, they really have been. They've been with me right from the beginning. And Bill asked me, would I support the national right to carry legislation? How do you feel about national right to carry? That's my free poll. You know what that is? That's a free poll. I don't have to pay $300,000 to somebody that doesn't even do polling, you know, to give you phony numbers. See, those are real numbers. National right to carry. Yeah, we're working on it. And we have a very special guest who you just saw on the highest rated fight show ever in the history of television, the UFC Freedom 250. So this guy, well, I just have to set it up a little bit if I don't mind. Because I'm thinking, you know, I'm a similar size. I weigh more than he does, actually. So therefore, I have a tremendous physical advantage over him. His muscles are slightly harder and slightly younger. He's a lot younger. But I think I can do it because I'm a great athlete. He knows I'm a very good golfer. And I'm much better off on the golf course against him than I'm in the wrestling, man. But he went virtually undefeated. I mean, he went 4 years. He was the top wrestler. His friend, Tony, who's another champion, I'll introduce you to, Tony. But these two guys were on the Penn State team. And Bo Nickel went, I mean, you couldn't defeat the guy. And then he had every battle. I guess he was a 3 or 4-time All-American. But then he turned pro and he went to the UFC. Did you find them tougher? Yes, a little different.
You know, a little different, but he's won just about everything. But he had a big fight last week with a lot of pressure, with the White House in the background. And he's a guy that I like. I met him a while ago. I looked at the years. I said, man, this guy's a fighter. You can tell a lot by the years. And he told me, no, he doesn't mind the years. He likes them. It's almost a symbol. For great fighters, it's a symbol. That's why I'm worried about you, Tony. You have pretty normal years. But I got to know Bo a little bit, and I got to root for him. And I almost felt like his father up there. His father's great, but I felt like his father, so I was nervous for the fight. And he was fighting somebody that Dana White, the great Dana White, he's a phenomenal guy. He said, no, Bo's got a tough one tonight. I said, why? Why do you do that to him? Because if you lose it this night, it was the biggest audience they've ever had, by far. The whole world watched it. The people at the White House, we had 5,000 seats around the cage we built, and we had 100,000, more than 100,000 people in the park right next door. We had the largest television audience they've ever had, by far. They said, why do you have to give him such a tough opponent? He was pretty tough. But then it happened. So Bo is known as a great wrestler because he was the best wrestler by far in college. Nobody could beat him. And I figured Bo would be wrestling. But no, he wasn't wrestling. He was punching. I said, Bo, grab his legs and start wrestling. That's what you do. But he didn't do that. He didn't listen to me. And he got a shot off that was brutal. And in the first round, right, knocked him out. He was really knocked out. Great fighter. The guy was a great fighter, is a great fighter. So I just want to thank, he's from Penn State. He loves Penn State. He is the NCAA wrestling champion. And just fantastic. And his friend, and you probably know, is also, I think you were roommates, right? That's a tough room. I wouldn't want to fight these two guys. Let's go pick on those two guys. I don't think so. But he was the heavyweight, and he lost a lot of weight. He weighed 35, 40 pounds. I asked him, how much did you wrestle? About 40 pounds heavier. In other words, you want to live, right? You decide to lose it. But he was also the champion, NCAA champion, and his name is Anthony Cassar. So come up here, fellas, because I want to just ask the audience a question. Come here. Come here, Bo. So here's my question. If I work out for the next couple of months, really work hard, lifting those weights away, and really, really work, could I beat Bo or Anthony in wrestling? You're very disloyal. You're very disloyal. Say a couple of words about your fight. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Wow, what an honor to be here. I think walking up here, I was almost as nervous as the fight, but it feels like a fight. Yeah, it feels like it, but this is exciting. I'm grateful to be here with everybody. So grateful to President Trump for making an event that, in my mind, never seemed possible happen. UFC Freedom 250 on the White House lawn. Unbelievable. I don't think there are too many presidents that have the courage to do something like that, and, just so unbelievable. For me, both my parents were high school teachers. My dad was a wrestling coach. My grandpa was a wrestling coach, and I grew up around sports and just competing from 5 years old, and so to be able to do something like that is a dream come true, and it's just through hard work, effort, discipline, and a lot of time in the wrestling room, a lot of time in the cage that I was able to do that. And that's really because America is the land of opportunity. And if you set to your mind to something and you feel passionate about what you do, you can accomplish anything. And thank you. I don't want to take too much time, but I want to tell a quick story about the first time I met President Trump. It was in 2019 at the White House, and our team and I won the Nationals, the NCAAs, and at Penn State, we are. Let's go. And we were given the opportunity to meet President Trump, and it was really special because he took a lot of extra time to talk with us as wrestlers. I think he respected the wrestlers a lot, and I told him that when I'm done wrestling, I was going to fight, and he asked me if I needed a manager. And I thought that he has better things to do than that. But really, since then, I feel like we've had a special connection that I'm extremely grateful for. And, fast forward 7 years, I'm fighting on the White House lawn, and I turn and look at my corner, and President Trump is right next to him. And so it really felt to me like he was in my corner. I know that was something that was just so special. And I feel like just incredibly grateful. And overall, the whole week of the experience, everything, the word that kept coming to mind and the emotion that I kept feeling was gratitude. And I'm grateful for President Trump, grateful for all my friends and family and supporters, and I'm grateful to be an American, and it's the best country on earth, and God bless you all.
How's everybody doing? This is an awesome crowd. I'll keep this really short. It's just an honor to be here. Bo and I have been roommates since our freshman year at Penn State and never could have imagined this, but it's an honor to support Mr. President, this great nation, and the American workers that build the foundation of the United States of America. So as a small business owner, real estate investor, I just want to thank President Trump for the big, beautiful bill, all he's done for small business owners. And most importantly, I pray that God will continue to bless him and guide him to lead this great nation. And God bless all of us. Thank you.
Two great champions. That's great. It's good to have them here, too. We have a lot of champions in the audience. These are two very special people. When you do that, I was saying to myself, you know, going into that ring and you got all these people, we had the richest and the biggest politicians. We had the biggest of everything. You couldn't get a ticket. The tickets were selling for some crazy numbers, I heard. We gave them away to everybody, but somehow some got out. And I was saying that's a tremendous amount of pressure. And you're fighting the toughest people on earth. I mean, these are the strongest, toughest men on earth. No women in the crowd, which is nice. But these are the toughest men on earth, and it's tremendous pressure. And you know, the muscles, you got the muscles, you guys, you got the big, strong muscles, but you got this muscle too, because it takes much more than just the normal muscle to win those matches. I mean, the strategy and the genius that goes into it. It is a genius. A lot of people wouldn't understand that, but there's a genius. There's a genius in sports, but there's a great amount of courage and power that you have that a lot of other people don't have. So congratulations, really, great job, great job. Good to have you here. In everything we do, we're once again fighting for the people of Pennsylvania, and that includes our amazing Pennsylvania oil and gas workers. And I ended last administration's war on Pennsylvania energy, and I signed an order to drill, baby, drill. That's what we did. Right, David? And you helped. The United States is now the #1 producer of oil and gas on earth, larger than Russia and Saudi Arabia combined by a lot. Think of that. Who would have thought that? We were in 4th place. Now we're larger than, and that doesn't include Venezuela. Include Venezuela once, because it's essentially should be included. I also ended the war on clean, beautiful Pennsylvania coal. In fact, in my administration, you're not, because you know coal was dead. China uses it. Other countries, very successful countries, use it. The unsuccessful countries use wind, those beautiful windmills that blow around and round and don't do anything except cost you money. Every time it goes around, you lose $10. It's supposed to make money with energy, not lose money. No, wind is every country that's using wind is a disaster. Every country that's using our beautiful substances from underground are doing very nicely, thank you. But in my administration, you're not allowed to say the word coal without preceding that word with the words clean, beautiful. So you say clean, beautiful coal. And I have Secretary of the Interior, Doug Burgum, who's fantastic, and Chris Wright. And they made a speech about coal, and they mentioned coal like 50 times in the speech. It's all about coal. And they kept saying, clean, beautiful coal, clean, beautiful coal. I said, no, it's enough. It's enough. But we're not allowed to use the word coal without saying, because what they can do with coal today is amazing. It is clean. It is beautiful. They can clean it. And it's a very powerful form of energy. And if you look at China, they're building 57 coal plants throughout, big monster plants all over their country. And then we're not supposed to do that? No, we're doing that. Clean, beautiful coal. invested over $1 billion to save dozens of coal mines. We've saved them. They were ready to close, and some had closed. And more than 100 coal power plants, including the Keystone and the Conemaugh generating stations, right here in Pennsylvania, as you know, are really moving now and employing a lot of people. They were all getting ready to close up. They were essentially closed. We're working hard to lower the cost for all consumers, and we want powerful energy. Under my administration, the most favored nation agreements on drug prices that we just did are delivering the largest prescription drug price cuts in history, with numbers like 400, 500, and even a 600% reduction from where it was. Think of that. That alone should win us the midterm. And the fake news back there refuses to talk about it because they know how good it is, because they can't produce it. They've been trying to do it for years. Favored nation. We paid the highest drug price in the world by far. As an example, for the fat drug, which Bo and Tony don't need to take, but a lot of people are taking. Who takes the fat drug? So in New York, think of it, it was costing a fortune. Many, many times, it was costing $1,300. And in London, it was $87. And a friend of mine who's extremely fat, sloppy, but very brilliant. He's a brilliant businessman, but he's a slob. There's no question about it. Very neurotic person, which you need sometimes to be successful. But he called me up. He used to call me Donnie. Donnie! Now he calls me Mr. President. That's a sign of great respect. But he said, President, I just came over here and I bought, I won't say Ozempic or whatever the hell it was, but I bought the fat drug. I said, I didn't know you used it because it's not working. And I used him as, he's begging me not to use his name, so I won't. But he's a very successful guy. He's actually a pretty well-known guy, brilliant business guy, worth a lot of money. And he checked. He just, he said, well, how come in London I just sent out and I'm paying $87, and in New York I'm paying $1,300? I said, because that's the way the prices are rigged. And it's rigged. The whole world is rigged against us. And I said, but you know what? You brought it out better than anybody could bring it out, because I've been looking at it. They all said it was impossible to do. And I went to the drug companies. I said, well, it's not going to be any more. You're going to raise their price a little bit. You're going to lower ours a lot, because the world is bigger than us. So it really worked that way. And they said, well, we'll do it. They were very unhappy, but they knew I wouldn't get it from the countries, because you had to get it from the countries. Then I went to France. I said to a very nice man named Emmanuel Macron, I said, Emmanuel, you got to raise your prices on drugs. Of course I will not do that. Why would I do that? Because it's unfair. We're paying 10 times more than you, and you're going to have to raise them a little bit. We're going to drop ours a lot. He said, no, I will not do that. I said, yes, you will. He said, I will not do that. I said, yes, you will. We're putting a 100% tariff on all wines and champagnes coming into the United States. He said, yes, I will do that. I promise. And I had the same conversation with Germany, with every country, with UK. Every single one of them within 5 minutes agreed to do it. Nobody could believe it. And they agreed to raise their price, and we have gotten the biggest price reductions in the history of drugs, medical. Nobody's ever seen anything like it. So instead of paying $1,300, you'll be paying about $175. Nobody's ever done that before. And this is on many, many drugs. A pill that sells for $10 in London and selling for $150 in Texas or any place, it's all the same in the United States. They basically discriminated. So now instead of $10, it goes to $20, because again, the world is a big place. And we would bring ours down to 20, from like 150 down to 20. This is the kind of price reductions you're getting. Go to Trump.com, by the way. And I didn't name it. That was Bobby Kennedy that did it with Dr. Oz. Everyone thinks I named it. I did not name it, but that site is through the roof. And these are the biggest price reductions in the history of our country for anything having to do with drugs, prescription medicine. So that alone should win the midterms. And there's a real chance that they would end it, because they're totally controlled by these foreign countries, the Democrats. So starting next week, weight loss drugs will be available for just $50. Think of that. For seniors who previously had to pay $1,200, $1,300, $1,400, couldn't pay it. Think of that. Now, they don't want to write. Look, they turn the cameras off when I talk about it because they don't want good stuff for us, because they don't want us to win elections. And why, I don't know. Why they want to have people pouring into our country, why they want to have high taxes, why they want to have all of these problems that took place over the last 4 years of the last administration, one of the worst administrations in history. But the other ones wouldn't be much better because they have all of these crazy policies. They've gone communist. But just over 1 year ago, we inherited the worst border in history, but I quickly turned it into the most secure border in the history of our country by far. Almost nobody is able to get in. And in the past 13 months, and this is a chart kept by generally Democrat people, in the past 13 months, 0 illegal aliens have been admitted into the United States. Think of that. 0. And even I find that hard to believe, but it's 0. I mean, they'd love to have it be high, but we can't do that. We have a country, and we're going to run it well. We don't want to have prisons released into our... some of these countries were emptying their prisons into the United States of America through the southern border. Prisons, prison population. Some of the countries had no prison population left. You know what that saves them? Some of them had no mental institutions. The mental institutions were taken. All of those people were taken to our southern border and allowed to just walk freely into our country under Sleepy Joe Biden and his group of thugs, their group of real thugs. Weaponization, that's all they're good at, weaponization and cheating on elections. In 2025, we achieved the largest drop in the murder rate ever recorded in the history of our country, despite the fact that we haven't gotten all of these criminals out of our country. We had the lowest since 1900, that's 125 years ago. And we cut the flow of fentanyl across our border by 56%. That's a big number. And we cut the flow of illegal drugs coming in by water, coming in by ocean or sea. We cut it by 97%. 97%. It's very drastic, but people aren't traveling that way too much anymore. We have the most powerful. I built the military in my first term. We used it in my second term, more than I thought, but we have no choice. We have no choice. But think of it, we cut fentanyl. For years, they've been interdicting. They've been grabbing boats, bringing them in, putting them in court. They go out by the same night. They're back sending drugs by the ocean, by the Gulf, by the sea. And now it's down 97%. And we're looking for the 3%, because I think those 3% are more brave than Bo Nickel was any day. The 3% of the people that are willing to get into a boat to deliver drugs now, they are the bravest people perhaps anywhere in the world. But it won't happen long. But what we've done is amazing. Our military, we have the greatest military in the world. We have the greatest law enforcement in the world. And we have the highest number of recruiting. So a year and a half ago, it was headlines. Nobody wanted to join the military, the Army, Navy, Marine. Nobody wanted to join any of them. Air Force, Space Force. I love Space Force. Coast Guard. Nobody wanted to join any of the military. They had tremendous recruitment problems. And even it carried over to the police. You have great police here. The police and the fire departments. Nobody wanted to do anything with the name America, anything with the uniform. And today, we have the highest recruitment, the most successful recruitment. Every single slot is filled. And that includes, they want to be policemen and they want to be firemen and women. So we went from the least successful in our history, David, to the most successful in the history in terms of recruitment. It was very embarrassing. A year and a half ago, 2 years ago, and it all happened from November 5th. That's when we won the election. From November 5th on, everybody wants to be a soldier. Everybody wants to be in the Army, the Navy, the Marines. They want to fly the jets in the Air Force. The Coast Guard is hot. Everything's hot. and of course Air Force. You know, I started Air Force, that was a part of the Air Force. The Space Force was part of the Air Force. I said, no, it's got to be separate, got to do its own thing, and it's become, so we were in third place 4 or 5 years ago, and I put it in. We were losing to China and to Russia, and now we're totally ahead of both of them, like at numbers that they can't believe. Space Force is going to end up being one of your most important. To stop the massive theft of taxpayer dollars, including millions of illegals, we've launched the war on fraud, led by our great Vice President, J.D. Vance. He's doing a great job. Doing a great job. Smart guy. We ended Medicaid for illegal immigrants, and we redirected $50 billion to make the largest investment in rural health in the history of our country, hospitals and everything else in the rural areas. And with the help of our Republican majorities in Congress, we will defend our jobs, our factories, our safety, and we will defend our borders like never before. We will crush violent crime, impose harsh new penalties on dangerous repeat offenders that shouldn't be in our country, crack down on Marxist prosecutors and judges, and we will immediately end the most dangerous thing that's ever been put into our country from the standpoint of law enforcement. Is called no cash bail. You kill someone, you go to the judge, they let you out, then you kill somebody in the afternoon. It's crazy. That was the beginning of crime. We will pass the great health care plan to stop all payments to big insurance companies and give the money directly to the people so they can buy their own health care, which will be much better care at a much lower cost. And we will pass the Save America Act to protect our sacred American election. And in the Save America Act, it's very simple. All voters must show a photo, voter ID. Very nice. May we see a picture, please? All voters must provide proof of citizenship. And there will be no mail-in ballots except for illness, disability, military deployment, or travel. And we will also, in that same bill, enshrine in permanent law no men in women's sports and no transgender surgery for our children. So together, with the help of patriots throughout Pennsylvania and all across the land, we will make America powerful again. We will make America wealthy again. We will make America healthy again. It's all happening. It's all happening. We will make America strong again. We will make America proud again. We will make America safe again. And we will make America great again. Thank you very much.
Ask you a question. If you're my age or about my age, you grew up, you heard that song. It was played in the discos and at frat parties and things of that nature. Would you ever have thought that that song would be the anthem for the most manly, tough guy president we've ever had? Not me. Any in the House, it will never be signed into law. President Trump will never sign it, and they obviously don't have the votes to override it. It's just a complete effort in futility, a complete waste of time, a complete waste of money. It's theater. That's why we have such a hard time, because these people just want to engage in theater. Now, tonight, we're going to see some serious theater, especially in New York, with all these socialists that are running tonight. And so I'll report on that tomorrow. But these people are absolutely bat poop crazy. They don't even want to put murderers in jail. They want to end incarceration. They want to end borders. There should be no borders. By the way, in order for us to do all this, we need your money. We're going to have to tax you up to here. But hey, New York, now you got to deal with it. You really have to deal with it. I feel bad saying that because I've known some people in New York, and you let it happen. You didn't get out there and vote against him, and he's destroying everything that you believed in. New York is just not someplace excuse me, I want to visit anymore. All right, so let me just check here. SB, he's probably still got some news. We've been here a while. What you got? Anything?
Yeah, two from the bottom there. The Texas story, which is pretty cool.
Texas?
There are consequences. Yeah, the Antifa terrorists. Yeah.
Is this Eric?
Yes.
What do you got here? All right. Yeah, show me this one. This is interesting.
So there are some consequences for bad things. So here we go. This was not just in earlier. A group of Antifa terrorists were just sentenced to hundreds of years in prison after a violent attack on the ICE facility in Alvarado, Texas, if you remember that. The group's ringleader, Benjamin Song, he got 100 years. The others got as many as 70 years and 50 years. They won't be looking like this when they get out, if they get out.
Oh
Consequences. Consequences.
If of all the states you want to break bad, maybe Florida and Texas aren't those two states. You don't want to. I mean, we got sheriffs down here that actually make videos saying we will shoot you graveyard dead. I mean, they make no bones about it. They don't even care. If you guys ever want to, you're bored, there's nothing going on, go ahead on YouTube and search Sheriff Grady Judd. And it's just a video after video after video of him telling people, you do that here, we're going to kill you. I mean, he straight up will tell you. And so stupid of them to do something in Texas. Very, very stupid.
Bye, Felicia.
Oh, boy. Good luck.
The other story was the one by Elon Musk about an hour ago. He had reposted a post about the USAID funneling money to EcoHealth Alliance, which funded coronavirus gain-of-function research at the Wuhan Institute of Virology. So he was telling people, and remember, he's got a lot of eyeballs in him, so people are waking up going, wow, this USAID funding, I'm glad he kind of dodged it, because saving lives and saving a lot of money.
Well, you just got to keep doing it. Keep digging and clawing back all this fraud and everything else. And
so much fraud.
So much fraud. So I mean, just so much. Let me check here. See, I think that's all I have for the night. For tomorrow, just to let you guys know, again, I think it's going to be a two show day. I'm thinking tomorrow is Thursday, and there may be a press. I don't know if you saw this, SV, but what's her name? Caroline Levitt was on Sean Hannity's show last night.
I did see it. Yes, I did.
And she's been also tweeting a lot. So I don't know if she's segueing back into work or not.
I hope so.
She was on fire.
I miss her.
And so,
Yes.
So tomorrow, maybe we get a press conference at 1:00, and then maybe, we know the rally is tomorrow night. So I'm pretty sure Thursdays is the day. So if tomorrow, I'd love to have a press conference and then do the rally. All right. Thanks, SV. Let me close.
All right. Have a great one.
Thank you. All right. Let me go ahead and do super chats, and then it's dinner time. I can't believe Fox I think I can believe it at this point. Fox cut away from the broadcast once again. I don't know why. I know it's television time and it's valuable to them, but at the same time, man, come on. That's just embarrassing at this point. They got a video. I guess President Trump's about to get on the plane again, so we shall see that in a second. All right, so Pekoski, thank you very much. The hat fits received last Thursday at 6:47 p.m. Thank you very much. Let me just check if that's SP. Did I cut something early or something? Wait 1 second. Tomorrow is Wednesday. I can't even keep up with the days anymore. Tomorrow is Wednesday. Wow. Well, I'll still do 2 shows, but I doubt it's going to be press conference. Press conferences are usually on Thursday. I took the garbage out and everything because I thought tomorrow was Thursday. Chiosop, we should never have had to pay taxes and never have to pay taxes again if this broad didn't exist. These politicians were robbing us blind. I think that's the eye-opening stuff that they really want to show you, is that you've been working for decades, doing what you're supposed to do, doing the right thing, and the money's coming in, and these people are stealing it as it's going out. Insane. what's his name? Hockey Gramps. AI is exposing fraud is why the deep state attacked Doge. Right on cue, the zombies protested, keyed Teslas and torched dealerships. Thank God for Trump. Yeah, one of the things, I'll come back to that. Chiosop, no wonder AOC keeps saying you can't earn $1 billion. Everyone around her, including her, is stealing it. Exactly. You know what Hockey Gramps is talking about, and you're 100% correct, is it doesn't take a long time to launch AI agents and LLMs. The time that Elon and Doge were working, they could have coded this stuff. They could have launched it and walked away and don't need to be there. I'm pretty sure he walked it up to Trump and said, we got this. Here's what we're going to do. Let's go ahead and start parsing all this data. Let the AI go through it. And it's already in place. They already know. I guarantee you they already know. But in any event, thank you guys for tuning in today, and I shall see you on Wednesday. Wednesday's tomorrow. Tomorrow is Wednesday, not Thursday.
Fan.